As long as you don't hand me a piece of hair and sing.
His name is the Killer. He is the demon fella. He is the dead of night, dropping gold filled with blind. Calling makes him sweet with those big old demon cheeks. Never underestimate. With power he inflates to demolish your teammates. Beware of tilted towers, filling him with powers. That's the last one on the team from the energy on stream. Squee the Killer. He's a mind filler, cold as a mind chiller. He is the big stealer, dropping foes like a cold killer. Squee the Killer. Squee the Killer. Squee the Killer. Don't you dare take him light, or you'll be the first one down. Face to the front. Squeeze the Killer. He is the mind filler, cold as a mind killer. He is the big stealer, dropping foes like a cold killer. Squeeze the Killer. Squeeze the Killer. Fuck him up, killer! His name is the Killer. He is the demon fella. He is the dead of night, dropping gold filled with blind. Calling makes him sweet with those big old demon cheeks. Never underestimate. With power he inflates to demolish your teammates. Beware of tilted towers, filling him with powers. That's the last one on the team from the energy on stream. Squee the Killer. He's a mind filler, cold as a mind chiller. He is the big stealer, dropping foes like a cold killer. Squee the Killer. Squee the Killer. Squee the Killer.
What up, monkey?
Staring through the fight with radioactive Don't you dare take him light, or you'll be the first one down. Face to the front. Scream the killer. He is the light killer. Told as a light killer. He is the big stealer. Fucking falls like a cold killer. Scream the killer. Scream the killer. Scream the killer. Fuck him up, killer! His name is the killer. He is the demon fella. He is the dead of night. Dropping goals filled with blight. Calling makes him sweet. With those big old demon cheeks. Never underestimate. With power he inflates to demolish your teammates. Beware of tilted towers. Filling him with powers. That's the last one on the team. From the energy on stream. Squeeze the killer. He's a mind filler. Cold as a mind chiller. He is the big stealer. Dropping foes like a cold killer. Squeeze the killer. Squeeze the killer. Squeeze the killer.
Completing.
Doesn't ad starts in like 10 seconds, guys. I'll start up it right after the ad.
Staring through the fight with radioactive spikes. Once you're in the bearing of death. Fights like there's nothing left. Crashing down his soul, dive down into the hellhole. Never see him coming, shot his cocks when he's running. Don't you dare take him light, or you'll be the first one down. Face to the front. Scream the killer. He is the light killer. Told as a light killer. He is the big stealer. Fucking falls like a cold killer. Scream the killer. Scream the killer. Scream the killer. Fuck him up, killer! His name is the killer. He is the demon fella. He is the dead of night. Dropping goals filled with blight. Calling makes him sweet. With those big old demon cheeks. Never underestimate. With power he inflates to demolish your teammates. Beware of tilted towers. Filling him with powers. That's the last one on the team. From the energy on stream.
What is up, guys? We're going to talk about this golden boy right here today. That's what we're doing.
It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods.
Aren't even know. Still sets the mood. Point.
Do not fail your brothers. Though their bodies die, their spirit must return to the chapter. That is your charge.
Lit up, and I heard you quit.
Things change.
Oh, let's find. I didn't. So guys, we're going to talk about the Emperor of Mankind and get into the Horus Heresy. Started talking about Warhammer last week, but we were pretty unprepared. But that's why it was a 0 episode, so we can just kind of get it out there a little bit. It also helps us to get a little bit more prepared because we got feedback from you guys. So we decided that this would probably be a good place to start. It is some of the most already known, so it's the easiest to kind of already grasp onto. And the Horus Heresy is the book series just ended. So, and again, for a lot of people, that's how they got into it. They say that's a really good place to start. Really good stories. It spans about 32 books. And I think that's just the base series. I don't think that's including all the Primarch books, or maybe it is. I'd have to double check that one. I think it actually is. But yeah. So there's a few ways that the Emperor could have been reincarnated, or could have been become a being. Here in a minute, Hood Billy will be joining me, and we will be discussing some of it together, because there's some of it that I forget or I didn't put down in my notes. And yeah, I think we'll have a good time. Might have to go turn stuff off, but get there. Oh, over. Thank you. So this is the Emperor during the Horus Heresy. This is the form that he tends to show others and project himself as. He is considered the most powerful psyker that humanity has ever known. He is an immortal and a perpetual, so which means when he does die, because he can be killed, kind of dead at the moment, like half dead, half alive. So if he were to die, he will come back because he's a perpetual. So, but his psychic might keeps a certain project of his that we'll get into open or closed, so we don't get fucked with by demons. There is food on the counter. Let's soak it up, bro. We'll fucking get into it. Be right back, you guys. I'm gonna grab some food real quick that's downstairs and take a real quick bathroom break. I've been drinking water. I have Drug Dealer Simulator. It's pretty fun. We're talking about this golden boy right here today, though. How am I? What am I? How I'm doing my own thing. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Ah! I got 4 hours, bro. We doing 4. At least. We could talk about the Emperor and Horus Heresy for a while. Dude. I just got regulated. I mean, I'm gonna post the VOD. This is one. Yeah, I'm gonna post the VOD and I'm gonna put this on YouTube. I have 30 minutes. We'll attempt that. So while humanity was in like tribal era times, a bunch of shamans, like the first like few actual psychers and perpetuals no. What's up, Seffi? They figured out they were perpetuals, figured out that they were just like coming back for the sake of humanity, that they should put themselves together. And I feel like I'm a little off here, head. But ultimately they all got together and like ritually sacrificed themselves to create the Emperor. Yo, what's good, Trey Dizzle? Oh yeah, I'm loving the fucking dark wave feel we got going. Doing good, bro. Doing good. Well, trying to cool off. It just got hot in here because down. My house is letting off all the heat finally. growing through the ages as a perpetual, he's literally, dude, it was like 92 here. It was fucking gross outside today. Didn't feel that bad. Ted and I just walked to the store a little bit ago and it didn't feel that bad. It was after 5 o'clock too. But growing up through the ages as a perpetual and as an immortal, he's touched through all of history. And as we get like way further out into the fucking future, he starts to realize that he needs to take over, like show himself and be like, look, I've been throughout history. I know what shit leads to. So we're gonna use all of that knowledge of the past and get rid of all the bad shit. Get rid of all the shit that just continued to divide people and unify. There's literally a part of humanity that's called the Unification War. He wanted to guide humanity. He didn't necessarily want to be wholeheartedly he didn't want to be viewed as a god. He wanted to get rid of religion because that was ultimately what he saw that divided humanity the most. Because he also knows what's on the other side of, like, he knows about the warp, and the warp will be a whole different episode, because it's gonna take an episode. Woo! Pokemon caught. I'm obviously terrible at keeping to what I've written, and having somebody else to bounce things off of would be great, so I've been kind of stalling till. What up?
What up?
Welcome in, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. So, we got the golden boy here. So was I too far off with the shaman reincarnation theory part?
I missed that. I didn't have my volume up high enough.
So this is the reincarnating shamans, like, were kind of the first discoverers of the warp in a way, right?
I'm not sure. I think they had like a basic understanding of the warp, but I don't think they like they knew what the warp was or like its whole purpose. But I think they had like a basic understanding.
And then but they also understood like the whole feeling of like perpetuality was like painful.
Yeah.
And so they came together and realized for the greater good of humanity to ritually sacrifice themselves to create a greater being.
Well, I think they also had like some vision, if I remember right, like a lot of the perpetuals and people who were attuned to the warp during that time period, which is like ancient history.
Yeah, this would be like way ancient history.
So like imagine all of your like magic men, shaman, and like your more magically attuned individuals. They would be the ones who like they would have felt this. If I remember right, they got this like vision of what was to come, or like the state of what the warp was going to become. The warp was steadily becoming more unstable and dangerous. So they banded together in ritual to combine all their spirits into like one creature. So one of the ideas is that could potentially be who the Emperor is. The Emperor could be a conjunction of like a bunch of human perpetuals who like combine themselves in the warp and then became this like super perpetual.
This immortal perpetual in because this is what he looks like at the moment. It's just so this is what he looks like at the moment we're talking about, like in the Horus Heresy. This is like peak God Emperor.
Well, and this is the image he portrays to other. He uses like this psychic projection to make himself look a certain way. The true face of
Much
the Emperor.
rap card.
Oh boy!
Yeah, more akin to like what he looks like.
Hey, Dandy Dick! You missed!
And like I don't think we actually know what the Emperor for sure looks like. Because he'll appear differently to people too.
This is what he looks like on the Golden Throne. This is what he looks like in the current state of Warhammer.
Yeah. The Golden Throne.
We'll get to why he looks like this towards the end. Let's get to this. Or let's get up to this. So while he was a kid, he watched his father kill his uncle, and then with his own psychic might, he stopped his own uncle's heart. That's fucking just wild feat.
It's like some thing.
Right? As he got older, he realized it was his responsibility to guide humanity, and not necessarily to control them. But also being a perpetual and going through history, because ultimately, like, this kind of coincides with our own timeline. So he would have gone through all of our own history, and realizing that the one thing that's really divided everybody is religion.
And that's one interpretation of it. His motives, as the series gets later, like later in writing, and the story of Horus Heresy progresses, which is their great civil war. It comes to light that may not have always been the case. That a lot of what the Emperor said may have been a lie. That he may have like everything he said he didn't want may have been his goal all along. Like, so the emperor protests throughout his life that religion is the cause of division and wars, and that people will fight over gods quicker than they'll fight over anything else. But he's had people like Jiraiya argue against him. Jiraiya is the last last prophet, last priest on Earth. Argue against him that secular societies have done just as heinous things, and it's true. So, now you fast forward to the 41st millennium. Turns out like demons are real. Turns out like monsters in the dark, all that, it's all real. They're not just fairy tales. And the only way to fight them is with faith. It's a weird concept to think about. So did the emperor hate religion not because it divided people, but because he knew that if enough people worshipped something that was negative, it would coalesce into something negative in the warp? But then doesn't that also mean if you spread love across the galaxy, you would have something in the warp that would reflect that mass amount of. So
Right.
like, why didn't he from the start go with that route? I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, and then you fast forward to well, we'll get to that in a minute because on my list. Because then after he fought the Void Dragon.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't possible. I mean, ultimately, when we get to fighting other races, it wasn't, because we didn't come to any other races with unification. We came to other races. And I say we because we as the human race, we came to every other race with nothing but hostility.
Well, and when
We show up with
Sigilite,
an instant force, and we're taking the planet.
Yeah, and when Malkador the Sigilite would challenge, so you'll hear this name quite often, Malkador. He was like the Emperor's right-hand man. Malkador was also a perpetual who has been around almost as long as the Emperor, and he's also humanity's.
We're kind of shit. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Malkador's humanity's most naturally gifted psyker, or fucking witch, psychic, dude with psychic. With the Emperor, like possibly not even being human. But Malkador was most definitely.
Yeah, Malkador was like literally the Golden God's best friend.
Yeah. So when Malkador would contest him against building a secular society, the Emperor's defense was because so Malkador was one of the few people the Emperor could actually confide into. He would tell Malkador that when he would look to the future, when he would scry, no matter how many different ways he went about it, the only way that he could see humanity surviving in the farthest flungs of the future was to go on this very specific path that he had to follow, which included the heresy and everything that went along. So it's a trick. Like, what did he see so far out into the future that justified letting the universe end up in the state that it is in 41st millennium? It's a trip. There's a lot of good shit to unpack there, a lot of good shit to argue over.
Gotta rewind a little bit.
I like the setting.
Gotta rewind a little bit. I gotta turn my my fucking rewards off. Yeah, Necro came in and dropped a fucking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just let me know where to pick up at.
I'm just gonna. Oh no, I'm gonna cancel that.
We sit in the sun, in maze, we sleep, and we dream. Each of us dies.
Yeah, basically what I was I think what I was trying to say is that Malkador, when he would challenge the Emperor,
Yeah.
the Emperor's defense was that through his scrying, through his visions, there was only one way to ensure humanity stuck around, and that was to follow hard with the plans he set in place, and simultaneously keep the majority of humanity in the dark about his true plans. He always had some greater plan. A big stick that gets thrown into with a lot of the lore is the Emperor made a pact with the Chaos Gods while making the Space Marines.
Oh yeah.
And,
We're gonna get to that here in just a second.
Yeah, good.
Because
Up seeing everything in the past and the future. So, his ability to see through the future, no matter what he did, any idea, any path that he thought he could follow outside of just galaxy-wide domination, involved the death of humanity as a species.
Yep.
In his words and opinion, the only way humanity was to survive through the millennia was to pursue the path that he set forth for humanity. In no other future was he capable of seeing humanity survive. So that's his biggest defense whenever Malkador would go against him for his questionable. And it's wild too, because it's not like Malkador's a fucking saint. He's called a saint, but he's not. Like, Malkador was responsible for all kinds of crazy horror.
yeah, there's serious war crimes that happen on every aspect in the setting for
Yeah.
like major war crimes. So yeah, because and that the whole visit to the that's he literally went and visited the warp. And that was after fighting the Void Dragon, which probably took some, because he wasn't even like fully aware of all of his like his actual psychic abilities at this point. And he sent that bitch to Mars and locked it away on Mars. So that had to take some like Batman-esque tactical shit to figure that one out. But then more newly found fucking psychers are occurring. So this is probably towards the 30th millennium. More psychers are being found on Earth, or Terra is what they call it in the setting. And a lot of them are not knowing how to use their powers, and it's literally causing demons. And again, the Emperor actually went to the warp. This is all around the same time. I don't remember the planet. I'd have to look it up. But he took his warriors that he made, because this is during the Thunder Warriors. He took the Thunder Warriors on a one-way trip and went to the warp and talked with the Chaos Gods. We don't know what in the setting. We still have no idea what they talked about.
Yeah, we don't know.
But with that found knowledge,
all we know is that the Chaos Gods protest that he promised them something and went back on his promise. He broke his deal with them.
Yeah,
They say that that's why everything is the state the way it is. When the Chaos Gods try to turn you to their side, they tell you that it's the Emperor's fault and that all he had to do was maintain his agreement back.
Yeah.
But like, how can you trust something that is like literally the essence of evil?
And with whatever found knowledge that he got from that visit and that discussion, and whatever deal was made, he went back to Terra and started working on his 22 sons. 22 sons that would ultimately become the Primarchs and the leaders of 22 legions. Dormammu, I came to bargain. Fucking right.
Bro,
yeah, no,
yeah,
you're not too
so
far
hard
off.
With that scene. That's such a great.
Yeah, dude, that's a great scene.
Yeah, fuck, that's such a really good. Because here's the thing, the Chaos Gods also say he made a deal that only a god incoming could promise. So they took him fucking serious.
Yeah, they took him mad serious.
And he played him.
Yep. And so he already had this fucking army of created people that he made called the Thunder Warriors. The downside to the Thunder Warriors, okay, they're huge. They're big.
Yeah, they're actually more dangerous than space.
Yeah, because their genetic makeup is actually fairly unstable. A lot of them actually died naturally through cancers and shit.
Yeah, which were put into their genes.
Yep.
So the Emperor put like a biological clock
on them because he knew that they were temporary.
Well, and yeah, so what he required essentially the equivalent of like space Vikings and Spartans in order to deal with the Techno Raiders that took over Terra. The state that Terra was in at the time that he needed the Thunder Warriors was a post-apocalyptic state in which there was these. It was very Mad Max. That's a really like very Mad Max, very Dune-esque.
Take like fucking Cyberpunk 2027, faded into Mad Max, and then faded into Dune.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, because some civilizations at the time had like extremely advanced technology and AIs that they would have been working with to like help them, while other civilizations were the equivalent of a Fallout raider camp or like fucking Fallout shanty towns. Yeah, it was crazy. But so he required a hammer. He
required some fucking brute force.
Yep, and that was the Thunder Warriors. And the reason they were called the Thunder Warriors, it's interesting. I don't think the Emperor actually named them the Thunder Warriors. It was the enemies of the Emperor who named them that.
Yeah, because they're marching. Yep.
The sound of their bolters as soon as they'd open fire. 40 millimeter fucking rounds just being fired by like hundreds of these dudes who are like 12 foot tall fucking like 12 foot tall cybernetically enhanced superhumans.
Fucking crazy too. Absolutely nuts. And then he and not too far after them he made the Custodes. The Custodes are his own personal guard. And after they finally toppled the first church on Terra, or the last church on Terra, which we watched a video of, he had the Custodes just murk the Thunder Warriors.
Yep.
And then those that survived that culling actually did try to rise up, but were quickly defeated.
Yeah, there's also a short story about one who was able to escape Terra, but he wasn't able to live for very long. And then that's where we learned about the biological time clock that they have. He started suffering from like hardcore cancers.
Yeah.
I don't remember the planet he fled to, but he basically passed himself off as an Ogren to get away.
Some of them actually, that's where part of the rise up comes in. But yeah, some of them just went and hid on Terra. Some of them didn't die. Some of them didn't fucking join the resistance and rise up. Some of them just went down into the Hive City and lived down where there's already mutants and shit. And we'll touch on Hive Cities and shit in a little.
They were built to walk into the middle of irradiated zones, like zones where. So some of the people they would have been fighting would have had access to nuclear arms and would have had them turned against them in the middle of these kinds of fights. So these soldiers, like the Thunder Warriors, literally built to deal with like raw radiation. Like they were crazy.
And then the Astartes were created, which would be his sons, which would become his son's legion.
Yeah, you could think of the Thunder Warriors like a prototype, whereas the the Space Marines were supposed to be the completed project.
Yeah,
product.
they're smaller, but they're more disciplined. A lot of the gene seed type issues that the Thunder Warriors had.
Too.
What was that?
They have diversity too. The Thunder Warriors had no diversity. They were completely unified as a fighting force. Whereas the Space Marines, the key for the Emperor's plans was to have a vast diversity between his sons.
So then we have the Primarchs. Primarchs are the sons of the Emperor. Give me 1 second. I will pull them up.
Hell yeah. It's a good idea. There's a lot of them, and some of the names are hard.
Yeah, their names can be hard.
Latin and shit. The setting uses a lot of Latin.
This doesn't have their names, but it's got pictures. I'll pull up names. Where should we, let's see. That's Russ, right? Oh, that's Russ. I'm trying to see the order compared to the list order that I have.
Let's see.
No. Not unless I'm playing a game. I mean, I could put it in my tags.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just hopped on and they've got a order they were found. Kind of.
Oh yeah, we should do it in the order they were found.
Yeah, so hop over to the fandom wiki, and pull up the Primarch page. Just look up Warhammer 40k Primarchs, Google, and then go to the
Primarch fandom wiki. There we go.
Yeah, and then scroll down, and you'll find a order of rediscovery Primarch.
Order of rediscovery. Okay. Oh yeah, Horus
then,
was the first found, huh?
Yeah.
So Horus is this dude right here. I'm gonna move this.
You can also click on the Horus name or like open up a new tab, and that'll take you to his page on the wiki.
I'm just gonna bring this over here.
There is a Warhammer category.
Is there?
For wiki or for stream?
Stream.
Twitch? Yeah, there should be one. Let me look it up real quick. I mean, I might be wrong.
I mean, I put it in my tags. Should have redone it.
Oh God, he's coming back. Get out of here.
Thought I put it there. It didn't.
Yeah, there's a Warhammer category. A lot of painting and live play of tabletop games. A lot of painting and modeling. That's some good stuff to crash to.
It's just showing me games.
Yeah, I went to the Warhammer tab. Even has a GW's logo. Yeah, Horus Lupercal. First Primarch rediscovered. We should probably touch on.
There we go.
Hey, Squee.
Yo.
You ever had the issue in Fortnite where you trade with somebody?
Yeah, I'm kind of in doing something.
Yeah, I've been here listening to you talk about your Warhammer lore.
Cool.
My bad.
All good, brother. As you were saying, Hood.
So Horus Lupercal. Well, no. Before we hit that, let's talk about like why we're talking about them being rediscovered. So they, after the Emperor broke his deal with Chaos Gods as a way of getting revenge against him, teleported. And mind you, too, this is very rare for the Chaos Gods to get together and do anything. They're always in a constant state of fighting each other for domination of the warp.
There's two versions of this too.
Thanks for pointing that out.
One is that and this is the current one. Warp fuckery. The Chaos Gods just warped the would-be Primarchs away from.
Literally just teleport them. While they're babies.
The original one is their mother, because they have to have a genetic makeup from a mother.
Her name was Astartes. That's why they're actually named Astartes.
Yeah, it was also it was Astartes, and it was Urda too, like
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Urda Astartes.
Yeah, and she threw them to the warp.
Yeah.
So through warp fuckery, they kind of controlled her to be like, yo, or she found out what they were going to be and didn't agree with it and sided with the warp gods and again hucked them through the warp. Fucking great parenting. Great parenting.
Yeah, so these Primarch babies were teleported all across the galaxy to different planets and different solar systems.
Yeah, and they all landed on
22 specifically.
Yeah, they all landed on human inhabited worlds except for Jagatai Khan and Fulgrim, who were also swapped by the Eldar God.
Yeah.
And that's again a story for another time.
Yeah, we never really touched
on the Eldar God in general.
Chegarath.
Yeah.
Chegarath's he's a whole.
He's a whole thing. So the Emperor goes on a crusade to find his missing Primarchs, to find his missing sons. And he first finds Horus Lupercal. Because he finds Horus first, he gets to ultimately spend the most time with Horus, which isn't saying much, because the Emperor is fucking bad dad of the ward all day. And he ends up naming Horus War Master in towards later in shit. He gives him the first legion of the Astartes and gets to name them the Lunar Wolves, later being named Sons of Horus. And they actually take the Eye of Terra as their symbol, this actually not the Eye of Horus at the time. It was a it was a pro-Imperium symbol at one.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of chaos symbols are mockeries.
Yeah.
Of Crusade era.
He then went on to take on helping his father find the rest of his brothers. Primarch number two is gone.
Yeah, so Primarch number 2 is
Oh,
redacted.
Primarch number 2 is not the second found, actually. Russ was found next.
Oh yeah, that's right. Russ has kind of an interesting story. So Russ is your space Viking, space Marines.
We'll dive deeper into each of these guys in an episode of their own, because they deserve an episode of their own.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly deserve an episode of their own.
But still, so the they're like space Viking, space Marines. So when the Emperor first met Leman Russ, they
got in a fist fight, didn't they?
Well, he was challenged to a drinking match. First, Russ challenged the Emperor to, he's like, hey, here in my halls, we feast like no other, we drink like no other, and we fight like no other. So in order for me to respect you, you need to be able to out-eat me, out-drink me, and knock me out. And yeah, that's eventually what they went on to do. The Emperor out-ate him, out-drank him, and then eventually led on to a headbutt, and he knocked Russ out, and then had Russ's respect from there on. So they're very, very Viking very, very Viking. Everything about the whole interaction and their story. Space Marines in particular, all the factions have almost like an animal iconography that can be tied to them. When the Emperor was making his Space Marines, he was not opposed to just taking the genetics of other animals on our planet and incorporating them into his Marines. So for the Space Wolves, they were literally incorporated with the genes of wolves. And one of the afflictions that they face is they become fucking werewolves. After enough time, their gene seed mutates and causes them to become more wolf-like, more ravenous, and more bloodthirsty for the hunt. When they lose themselves, they're basically corralled and taken care of by other Marines and released into fucking battle against the enemies. It's crazy.
The third Primarch found is redacted. So redacted. The idea here,
2 and 18. I think it's Primarch 2 and 18.
Yeah, they're in that order, but third found is, so the idea here is either you can write about it yourself and make your own lore, which was the original idea for both of these Primarchs.
All the way back from when the setting was created.
The current story is that they were probably killed on sight. They either decided to not follow their father, or just completely sided with whatever species of planet they landed on. And
we're not 100% sure.
Yeah, no one knows. The whole thing's redacted.
Yeah, whatever they did was so heinous that Malkador almost killed Horus before Horus was even a problem. Like, almost killed Horus out of a fit of like, shut the fuck up, kid. Like, it's wild. Like, so the info about them is one of the most heavily redacted things in the setting.
Yes.
And it's by design. So
yes, this whole setting very much relies on the unreliable narrator. Because it is the 41st millennium, between all of the random bullshit that goes on, and how bureaucracy gets in the way of everything, how jargled space transmissions get in the way of everything. Nothing, everything is canon and nothing is canon. Like,
Yeah.
that's
We kind of skipped the Dark Age. I mean, Dark Age 2, which we probably should have hit on.
Dark Age.
Forgot all. Yeah, I forgot
Oh yeah,
all about
I
the Dark Age.
missed,
That's
pretty
preceding
much missed
the-
all of that.
Yeah, that's preceding the invention. So that's after the Thunder Warriors, yet before the space. There was
Yeah.
this whole ass period of humanity, and we'll just hit it real fast. There was this huge period of humanity where humanity used technology. So the Emperor achieved what he wanted, ultimately, without his Space Marines. What he did is he created a society in which they were completely secular.
I
and they
missed
were
this
all
in my
focused-
notes too. Sorry guys. Sorry, as you
Yeah,
were.
no worries. And they, so they were completely secular and focused on the idea of expanding out into the galaxy, with the belief in only rational science and only science can explain everything. What they did, so the Emperor created these things called what is it? The Golden Men. Wait, so there's the Men of Iron, the Men of Bronze, and the Men of Gold. Yeah, so the Men of Gold are your most basic forms of AI, kind of like the AI we have today that's helping us with helping us with shit, and also going a little weird. The AI we have today is very, very relative to bronze, bronze technology in the Warhammer setting. Mind you, that in the current setting, most people don't even know about any of this stuff, and those who do know have such a fragmented idea of how technology worked back then, which is why everybody's so afraid. So the Men of Iron were AIs, like actual true conscious AIs that were integrated into all of humanity's systems, into all their technology. In order for humanity to colonize all of the star systems, they had to have assistance from AIs. So the Emperor created technology that allowed humanity to integrate, kind of like the Neuralink shit, or like Cyberpunk. They would allow you to interface directly with your AI. So in order for you to fly a ship in this universe at this time, you would have been directly linked to the ship and its AI.
Yep.
So when they talk about appeasing
Machine
the
spirit.
machine spirit and Princeps controlling and fighting against their Titan, they're fighting against an AI, and they have no idea what they're doing. They just think that this AI is a spirit, like a living thing within the. I mean, I don't know, like philosophy. Philosophy's weird. Maybe it is alive. But yeah, they don't even realize that they're still working with the same AIs that they used to colonize the galaxy. So in any case, while they were making these AIs, something happened along the way, and it was such a devastating incident that almost nothing about it was left over.
The Emperor
The AIs
AI?
revolted. The Emperor, no, he's not an AI. And the only reason is because he's so tied to the warp. AIs have a hard time fucking around with the warp. Like, that's actually one of the things you can use to fight the warp, is just cold hard metal, because it's unfeeling. It's what makes the Necron so effective, because they don't have souls. You have to have a soul to be affected by the warp. It's all convoluted.
It's such a crazy setting. And then also when he went to start this crusade to find his
Oh
sons,
yeah, AIs revolted. That was the end of it.
yeah,
My
the
bad.
AIs revolted, which led to the techno barbarians. So we actually did kind of touch on it, but we didn't talk about it a lot.
Yeah, that's what led to the need of the Thunder Warriors and all
Yep.
that. Yeah, that's right.
So with also starting this crusade to find his sons, one of the first planets he decided to visit and colonize was Mars, and enlist the Admech into the
Yeah,
the
so
Imperium,
with
the
the
Greater Imperium.
Yeah, with the birth of Slanesh, it shrouded the whole galaxy in these like galaxy-wide fucking psychic storms, which are called warp storms. It prevented humanity as a species from communicating with each other. So every single planet was isolated and left to their own device. This was simultaneous to the AI uprising. So while shit was just going wrong with AIs and people were losing their ability to even control their technology, these warp storms. This is where was I going? Fuck.
Warp storms, birth of Slanesh.
Hi.
A bunch of this shit's happening all over the galaxy and shit like simultaneously. So there's a lot of dates and a lot of events that just cross over. The next son found was Ferrus Manus. He gets the Emperor's children. He is another one that falls. Oh no, he's not the Emperor's. He's the Iron Hands. There we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the Iron Hands, but I was unsure. I was like Ferrus Manus. That's Iron.
He ended up Iron Hands turned to Chaos. Yep. Yeah.
Yes. So Ferrus Manus was a forge master. His hands were literally made of like think of like T9000 series Terminator, where he could just shape and mold his body into anything. Well, that's what it was like for Ferrus Manus's hand. Ferrus Manus could shape his hands into whatever tool he needed to craft whatever he wanted.
The idea of the Emperor, kind of Venom, but with metal.
Yeah, that's a really good example.
Or Carnage with metal.
Yeah. So Ferrus Manus is the whole purpose of Ferrus Manus for the Emperor was to craft devastating weapons for galactic warfare for the Crusade. But that was basically it. That's all the Emperor had planned for him. The Emperor had other Primarchs as well that were better at crafting like bigger things. And Ferrus Manus was really good at crafting warfare.
Yeah, we'll get to the other. Yeah, he actually had a plan for each one of his sons, because these were supposed to be his harbingers of taking over the galaxy.
Now, mind you,
each one gets their own Legion of Space Marines.
There are some Primarchs where we're not going to be able to tell you because we don't understand.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else will have a better description, but when we get to them, there's some Primarchs. Yeah, I have no fucking.
Yeah, and like I said, each one will get their own episode because each one fully deserves their own episode.
But yeah, we'll lightly touch on each. But yeah, that's it. So Ferrus Manus had a rivalry with a few of his other brothers. He was not liked by a lot of his brothers, nor was he very respected. He was stunted when it came to his ability to communicate with others. He very much just wanted to create things. And yeah, he was not good at diplomacy, nor did he have any interest in peace or Ferrus. That pretty much covers Ferrus.
The next found was his brother Fulgrim.
All right, Emperor's children. Ego Marines.
It's very much Ego Marine. He fell to chaos. He turned traitor to his brothers and traitor to all humanity.
He was one of the first.
He was one of the first.
Fell because of his own hubris.
Yep.
So he loved the thing about Fulgrim is he really loved the Emperor, and he loved the idea of humanity and everything about it. He loved it so much that it all went to his head. He wanted to be the embodiment of everything that the Emperor loved, but he wasn't that. He was jealous of his other brothers. One in particular was Sanguinius. He envied and was extremely jealous of the angelic visage of Sanguinius, and it was something that he wanted to represent.
Yep.
The goal and purpose for the Emperor's Children, honestly, I think they were supposed to be the poster boys. They were supposed to be like honor guard, like they were supposed
that's
to
why
be
they
the
had
knights
the
in shining armor.
That's why they had like the regal purple.
Yeah, regal purple and pink, or like I think it's a strong magenta was their original colors.
That's what he looks like now.
Oh yeah, now he's just a horrifying, like, fucking
Four-arm
wave
snake dude. But again, that's for a later episode. The next found is one of my favorites. Not my absolute favorite, just one of them. Vulcan. The Salamanders.
Yes. So Vulcan is also a perpetual. He is the only
He's the only other perpetual of them all. Right?
Yep. Out of all the Primarchs, he's the only perpetual. That is his special power. That's another thing too. They all have like a special power. Sometimes it's not so clear. Like Fulgrim, his special power was literally his fucking ego. Great job, Dad.
Good job, Dad. Best Father of the Year award. Bad Father of the Year all day, right here.
Superpower is narcissism. Oh, that's horrible.
So not only does he get the power of fucking being a perpetual, but he is also a master of the forge. Hey, don't knock until you try it, he said. But he is also a master of the forge. So he was truly the one designed by the Emperor to forge great weapons and great masterworks of armor.
Also key artifacts that would have been instrumental to the Emperor's grand plan. So one of the key parts of the Emperor's grand plan, just to hit that real quick, he wanted to create a safe travel network through the warp. In order to like travel anywhere in this setting, you have to literally fucking go through hell. Like actual hell, like some Event Horizon shit.
Yeah, like if you guys have ever seen Event Horizon, we in the Warhammer community greatly consider that a Warhammer movie, and
yeah,
so does the writer himself. He wanted it to be a Warhammer movie.
Yeah, they actually tried to get the rights to make a Warhammer movie, but they didn't get it from GW, and they already had the script written. So instead, they made Event Horizon. So it's like it's almost like 40k fanfic.
Starship
it's also
Troopers.
a lot like Doom.
Starship Troopers is very much a Warhammer movie too, but we'll touch on that in a little while.
So the old ones, the dudes who create, the fucking
Event Horizon
ancient species,
fucked me up as a kid, straight up, bro.
fucking A, Event Horizon was crazy.
That's a fucking wild
I was not
movie.
prepared for how quick it escalates.
Yeah,
I'm not
dude.
trying to derail the conversation, but fuck that movie escalates. Great actors too.
And again, we'll touch on we'll get into each one of them on where they landed and more of their role in the greater stories of everything in each one of their episodes. Lawrence Fishburne, for fuck's sake, right though?
Yeah.
But yeah, he landed on a planet that makes their skin literally black and their eyes glow this yellow and red.
Because of their sun.
And they worship the great dragon, bro. Like, it's so fucking cool. I love their and as a chapter of Space Marines, the Salamanders are a very caring chapter. They know that they are defenders of humanity, and they go out of their way. Literally, there is stories upon stories upon stories of salamanders going out of their way to save a regular, normal human fucking being, and like handing them to another chapter, a member of another chapter, and they're like, why? They're like, because we defend them. And I told you to do something.
They're one of the few Marines that also remember that they came from humans, that without humanity, they have no purpose.
They're fucking awesome.
There's this, so they are still grimdark. One of the big holes you can put into that is a certain story about an Eldar baby, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
That's not very stream worthy.
There's a lot of
so-
stuff in this setting that we literally can't talk about, guys.
Well, and like back to what I was saying though, they like one of the big sticks with this setting, like one of the big things that that is a driving writing force is that everything's supposed to be grim dark and there's not supposed to be any good guys. The reality is there are some people who are like they're more aligned on the light side, the good side, not so much evil. Yeah, they have evil practices, and there's obviously a bad egg amongst every group. But when it comes to the Space Marine, the Vulcans, Salamanders are the closest you're gonna get to like good guy Marines. They're the only ones who care about human casualties and like actively put that into all of their military planning. They're pro-human, all of them. And there are totally Space Marine chapters or sub-chapters like the Black Templars that don't give two fucks or a shit about humanity. They only care about like where you sit on the alignment.
And it's funny you mentioned Black Templars, because the next one found Rogel Dorn himself.
Yeah, I knew Rogel Dorn was early. I was curious what number he was to be found next. So Rogel Dorn is one of my favorite primaries. He's responsible for essentially 2 chapters, because his chapter divided themselves in 2. He's also, we're not sure if he's dead. All we have is his hand.
Yeah, we literally just
disappeared.
have his hand. And as they've brought Primarchs back in lore and in the tabletop game, each one of them so far has something that belonged to the Emperor. The next Primarch that we'll show has his sword. The next Primarch that they brought out has his shield. So if Dorn does come back, it would only make sense that he gets his hand, his clawed hand.
Yeah. So Rogel Dorn was an artisan, and his main goal was to build. So his role in the Crusade was to build defensive fortifications, like planet-wide or even galaxy-wide defensive fortifications and networks, specifically for humanity.
I'm gonna let you keep talking. I
genius
have to use the restroom.
Yeah, no problem. So he was a genius at building these defensive networks for humanity. But that wasn't his primary goal. The Emperor's original goal for Dorn, once the Crusade was finished, was to build massive mega cities. I think they're called Encompass cities or Encompali. They like literally Coruscant level fucking planets, where like these massive, beautiful, like perfectly fucking like perfect infrastructure kind of planet. He wanted Rogel Dorn and another Primarch specifically. We'll get to them later. To work together to build these like to build the cities of humanity in the future. That was his primary goal, and Dorn had dreams of this. Dorn, that was his, like, he hated having to fight the war. He loathed having to fight humanity themselves to bring them back into the fold. All he wanted to do was build beautiful structures. Ferrus Manus, the leader of the Iron Hands that we were talking about earlier, Rogel Dorn is his direct rival. He respected the fuck out of Dorn, but he hated him at the same time, because all the praise that Ferrus Manus wanted is the praise that Dorn got. And it just and nobody wanted to listen to Ferrus Manus. So he just became a jaded fucking asshole, while Dorn was beloved. But Dorn himself had a very because of that nature of like, because my duty tells me to build all these crazy defensive infrastructure, I'm gonna do that. It's what my father wants. But what I really want is to build beautiful things and to
he wanted to build
be peaceful.
Grand, beautiful fucking architecture. And his, I'm sure this is what you were touching on. I couldn't totally hear you. He wanted the Emperor's goal with him was ultimately that too, because he had to rebuild Terra. after techno barbarians and all that shit just fucked it all up, and ravaged by fucking like
There's actually a note
gang
on Dorn,
warfare and all kinds of shit.
The first time Dorn stepped foot on Terra, he was in awe at the architecture and was asking all these questions to the Emperor and Malkador about how they could improve it, and literally pointing out flaws left and right and things that could be improved. And then furthermore, what impressed Malkador was that he pointed out not just things that were practical, but things that were artistic, things that were just like that had no function other than aesthetic beauty, or like to bring out a sense of fulfillment. And that's one of the reasons why he was beloved. But that split nature also defined itself in his Legion. His Legion are what? The what are they? The Iron fucking the Imperial Fist, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Imperial Fist and Black Templar.
Yep, the Sons of Dorn.
The more so the side of his sons that were more akin to wanting to fight war and crusade split into their own path, and they followed a leader known as Sigismund. Sigismund went on to become this like big religious figure in Black Templars, but that could be and then there was I don't remember the dude from the Imperial Fist, the counterpart there, but the Imperial Fist stayed true, while the Black Templars they don't follow a lot of the rules and doctrine.
Yeah, they're also a fleet-based chapter.
Yeah, they're a void
which means
chapter.
they don't have a homeworld.
Nope, they don't have a homeworld. They just have this massive fleet, and they also have more Space Marine chapters because they don't follow the rules.
Yeah, we'll touch on all that again. It's other.
Yeah, we'll touch the Codex Astartes when we get to Gilliman.
Which is, guess what?
Oh, is that next?
Here comes
hey,
Gilliman.
That's a perfect lead into. Wow.
Rowboat Gillerly, man. Give me a second. God damn it, my shit's.
Oh yeah, check your chat too. Thank you, Rafa.
Yo, yeah. I appreciate you, bro. Yo. That's a great way to say goodbye, bro.
Oh damn.
I love you, man. What more can I say than I love you, bro? Thank you.
Dude, you're a legend.
Yo, fucking subs in the chat, guys. Lawnmower Man got one. Let's go. Necro got one. Let's go. Grandmaster Goat got one. Let's go. Monkey Funk got one. Those are the names I recognize right at the gate. That's pretty dope, man. I appreciate you, Rafa. Yo, I appreciate that too. I'm working on all my alerts. I'm actually working on trying to get some more personalized ones. So I appreciate you, brother. Much love. This will be posted probably as soon as we're done. So it should be up for you in the morning.
Oh, did you remember to adjust your VOD track?
Yes.
Hell yeah. W streamer.
Why is this being dumb?
Dude, and much love to Squeeze community and everyone who's here. Like, thank you guys. This is something that we've been wanting to kick back and bullshit on a casual level about Warhammer for a long time. So this has been awesome. You guys are fucking.
What of you?
Did it freeze up when you went to go to Gilliman?
Yeah.
I can pull it up. So let's see. Rabute Gilliman.
Come on, just fuck it. Here we go. Blam. There we go. Rabute Gilliman.
Hell yeah.
So Gilliman gets the chapter of the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines are the poster boys, the poster boy Space Marines that you see on all products. When you see those
100%.
When you see those boys in blue and gold, you know you are talking about Warhammer. You know you were talking about Space Marines. Everybody knows what the fuck is going on.
Yep, this particular chapter is the reason why StarCraft fucking Marines look.
It is, because StarCraft
StarCraft was-
was supposed to be a Warhammer game.
GW pulled out at the last minute.
That-
They had a whole
that's a
completed
whole-
game.
That's a whole thing. Yo, much diggity. Thanks for the fucking lurk, bro. I appreciate you.
Yeah, there's a lot when it comes to field.
Gilliman's special ability is literally being a tactician.
They're also another one of the Marine chapters that you can point to and be like, they're kind of the good guys.
Yes.
They do genuinely try to be the good guys.
They're very Boy Scout.
Gilliman's superpower is logistics. It sounds dumb, and it is kind of dumb, but the application,
And it does actually go a little deeper than logistics. It's also like diplomacy and
so he's a genius at building infrastructure.
and being a tactician as well.
Yeah, he's a genius at building infrastructure, about giving people a guideline of how to follow, like how to do shit. When he was discovered, his little section of the galaxy that he was found on, Macragge, and Macragge's fucking void space, he turned into basically a mini Imperium. So the
Yep.
Imperium during its golden age was this awesome, insanely unfathomable network of self-sufficiency, and Macragge's void space was like a mirror, like a little mini cutout picture of this. He was one of the ones who was able to recover and take leadership in his system better than most. That's another thing we haven't really touched on too much. Some of the Primarchs didn't have too good of a time when they hit down on their planets.
Yeah,
And,
well, I figured we'd save that for their individual episodes.
Yeah, they're deep dives, and that's a really good point. But in his particular case, he did really well. And that is his superpower. His superpower is adaptability and creating infrastructure, understanding and controlling logistics. He was basically supposed to be the administrator of humanity. Like, when everything was all said and done, it's very likely that he would have been the head bureaucrat of humanity as a whole. He would have been that would have been his superpower. Is the ability to look through the nuanced bureaucracy and find a way to make it efficient.
Next up is Magnus the Red.
Oh, and before we go too far, he created this book called the Codex
yeah.
Astartes.
Did start talking about
Yeah, so he created this book called the Codex Astartes. His particular chapter follows it like it's the good book, like it's the good word. And it actually, he's disappointed in his own
chapter
own
because
Marines.
of how devoutly they follow it without question.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's actually hurt his chapter because they refuse to, in a combat scenario, if it's not in the Codex Astartes, they're not going to know how to react to it. And he's like, dude, you guys have to be adaptable to be able to grow. And it's a taboo in his own legion to adapt and grow. His legion will vindicate each other as members if they stray from the Codex Astartes. So it's a little fascinating thing there. But the big point to bring up is the Codex Astartes expands well past his legion. The Emperor set it up so that the Codex Astartes applies to all Space Marine.
But that wasn't set up till after the Horus Heresy.
That's a good point. So it was the Ecclesiarchy.
Yep.
So it
And it was because of the heresy.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So his Codex Astartes became the foundation of how to run your Space Marine. There's also this like little bit of a like outside of the lore gag where when you get your codex for your rule book for your Marines, it's like your little sub part of the codex.
Yep.
Or if you get like the general rule book, it's kind of like your Codex Astartes.
Yep, like your main codex, and then you have your individual chapter codexes.
There's a lot of really cool stuff like that in lore too, where if you actually partake in the hobby, like on the top, you'll see a lot of crossover or to like actual physical stuff. You're like, oh, cool, this
later
is that.
I have a great story. I'll put that at the end of this from a short I saw that just fucking destroys me every time I see
but
it.
that covers the point I had to make. The only point I had to point out is that because of his codex Astartes defined the way the chapters work now. They're only allowed so many Marines. They're only allowed to have so many chapters. I mean, like so many sub chapters, so many fucking armament in whatever.
Yep.
Like the way they structure each of their
Tanks, dreadnoughts,
companies,
librarians, so forth.
the resources they're allocated. Like this is all determined by the codex. So that, yeah, but that pretty much covers that.
Magnus,
Codex Astartes is the whole episode. Magnus the Red's the next one.
Magnus the Red, Thousand Suns.
So I'm a Thousand Suns player. I will tell you what.
Magnus,
Most Lovecraftian.
yeah, Magnus is cool. He is another traitor Primarch. He fell to the gods of chaos, turned to traitor, and joined Horus in the heresy. He was one of the most psychically attuned of all the Primarchs.
He was the most.
Yes.
He was. That was his superpower. His Magnus's superpower is no other Primarch had his connection to the. His ability to connect to the warp was comparable to the Emperor himself, and it was something the Emperor was consistently worried about. The Emperor, it's kind of like the Emperor knew something was going to go wrong with Magnus, so he was just waiting to yell at a point. So too long didn't read.
Well,
Magnus the Red found a friend, and this friend was from the warp. Imagine everyone you know tells you that, like, hey, for all of our lives we've been told that they're like gods aren't real, demons aren't real, there's no monsters in the dark. Well, it turns out there might actually be some monsters in the dark. All this might actually be real, and it might actually be coming from this thing they call the warp. And turns out you Magnus, you're really tied to this thing. So you should be really careful about whatever you learn inside from this resource. This resource is dangerous, and you should be cautious about what you learn from it. Magnus is like,
nah.
Don't buy it. I don't believe you guys. I'm gonna go meditate, and I'm gonna go into the warp, and I'm just gonna go talk to these things and see for myself.
I'm gonna go do this.
On one end, I get it. It's the need to challenge beliefs for yourself, but the level of fucking arrogance, dude.
Yep.
And
ultimately, a lot of them do end up falling because of their own hubris.
Yeah, a lot of it's like baked into their own personalities. That like they were a lot of them are doomed from the start. But there's also a few of the traitors who fell to chaos because of the Emperor's action.
Yep.
So Magnus is kind of Magnus is a favorite one for a lot of arguments. Yeah, when you get people who are like really deep into the lore, a lot of people like to argue over whether Magnus did anything wrong or whether he was right or wrong, and that's what we're kind of getting to.
And yeah, we'll get into that because that's like beginning of the heresy. And
so Magnus made a friend in the warp, and this friend in the warp taught him all kinds of crazy shit about how to do all these cool magical things in the warp, how to further his magical and psychic abilities, and like how to better him. He was his little fucking spirit buddy in the warp. This spirit buddy was the chaos god Zech. Zech was twisting and manipulating Magnus from the start. Through the manipulations of Zech, Magnus ended up fucking up the Emperor's big old plan. Oh, and that's what we were talking about earlier. That I fucking spaced it. So the webway. In the warp, the great old ones or whatever fucking they created, they needed a way to travel through the warp. So the way to travel through it was this thing called the webway. Imagine like an artificial structure within a like the hellish plane that holds hell back and gives you just a safe metro way through the dimension. That's the idea of the webway.
Yeah, I think like a metro, like literally like a fucking bus route.
Yeah, like a metro bus route kind of line, like a protected, carved out, like almost like an antway path into other parts of reality using the warp. The Emperor was making his own webway, and in the middle of him making it, Magnus, through the manipulations of Zetch, went to warn the Emperor about the heresy, and instead of going there physically, he thought, I'm going to go there psychically. And he sought out the Emperor through the warp, found his psychic presence,
Use the webway.
Found that he was hidden behind all these great protections. So Magnus, instead of being like, oh, why is my dad hiding behind all these like safe walls and firewalls, let's just tear all these down. And that's exactly what he fucking did. Without question or hesitation, Magnus destroyed the defenses, the psychic barriers that the Emperor had in place for his webway in order to try to tell him that the heresy was going to happen. The moment he broke through the webway, all these fucking demons just started pouring through and materializing in the webway. All the humans and space marines that were involved in this fucking murdered. Everyone gone. And the Emperor, it took all of his might to hold them back. He had to go back to Terra and sit on this device that he was going to eventually have Magnus sit on to control it all.
Well, we'll get to all this here in a minute because we're going to get to the heresy after this.
Yeah, good
because this is all part of this is all we're trailing a little hard.
Good point. So next
Primarch is my favorite, the Angel, Sanguinius. Sanguinius is the chapter master and the Primarch of the Blood Angels, which is the chapter that I play on the tabletop. Ultimately, they have a gene flaw that keeps them as a sanguinary brotherhood. They unfortunately do have to drink blood. They've got some crazy fucking rituals. Again, we'll get into all that more when we do each individual episode. But he literally has these huge angelic looking wings. He's an absolute beast. An absolute beast. He unfortunately is dead. We'll get more into his feats as we continue into the heresy. Yo, Septic, what's good?
If I recall, on a like logistics level, I think the same amount of traitor Primarchs that are dead is equivalent to the amount of loyalists that are
they kept everything equal.
Dead. Yeah. So what, I think we have 5 living or potentially living Primarchs, or maybe 8. No, it wouldn't be 8 because
he died during the peak of the Horus Heresy. Again, like I said, we'll get into that as we continue. That's why I'm not even really going to talk about him too much at the moment. We're just going to kind of move on. We got the Lion. The Lion's next. So the Lion gets the Dark Angels for his chapter. There's a whole thing. Again, each one gets his own. He is currently the one who came back. In lore, he is currently the one we got back on the tabletop, and he came back via storyline. He currently holds the shield of the Emperor. His legion split in half during the Horus Heresy. Half fell to chaos, half stayed loyal. And then the other half that stayed loyal after went to just go hunt down, like half of half went to go hunt down the other half. So you have literally like half of the chapter that stayed loyal went to go hunt down the other half of the chapter that are considered fallen angels. I don't know a lot about the lion, so it's one I'm not gonna talk too much about again. Hood, do you want to touch on the lion at all?
No, I don't have it yet.
Perturabo, the Iron Warriors. Perturabo is kind of a douchebag. He liked to throw some fucking fits. The Iron Warriors turned traitor. So he's another one that, and he's got some horrific looks. Like there you go, right there. He's got all these fucking wires literally coming out of his head in his fucking big ass Space Marine suit. He does have his own like master crafted fucking. Isn't he in Terminator armor like fucking Horus?
No. So, he's his armor is like it's his armor is an ever evolving thing because he has to use it to fucking fight against this ongoing he got this like warp plague or something, and it's basically killing him. Like essentially he has cancer, and so he continues to evolve his cybernetics to save himself. He's supposed to be like this like hardcore, like he's supposed to be the most cyborg Primarch that we got.
Yep.
Like he's more machine than he is man.
Yeah, and again, each one will get their own because there's some that we're not like too familiar with because we don't.
Well,
necessarily...
no, I'm fairly familiar with all of them. I just don't want to tangent. I don't want to go too hard because that doesn't seem to be the focus of the video today, I guess.
Mortarion and the Death Guard. Another one of my favorites. One of my favorite traders. He turned to the side of Nurgle. I don't know why that completely just spaced my mind. And that's what he looks like now as a demon prince. He's pretty horrific. Lorgar and the Word Bearers. These are some of the first to turn traitor. So Lorgar decided to take it upon himself to make the Emperor into some kind of godlike figure that the Emperor never really wanted to be. He was and did really get rid of religion as a whole on Terra and throughout the stars at this point. And the Word Bearers are literally like now preaching the Imperium of Man and the teachings of the Emperor as a holy word.
So the Word Bearers in Lorgar, the planet he landed on, it was a very religious, pious planet. That's how they survived the stuff I was trying to explain earlier with the Dark Age and the birth of Islam.
Right.
So the way they survived the Age of Strife was through their pious belief. They literally had like literal demons on their planet that they would fight. And the only way they could protect themselves against this was to they were hit hard by the warp. So the only way they could protect themselves was through pious belief. Lorgar grew up under that piety, and so it was drilled into him. We're not entirely sure what his superpower was supposed to be because he was so brainwashed by his upbringing that that's what led him to be what he is. He was chastised by the emperor for some certain events. I don't want to trail too hard again.
Yeah, you're good. We can just move on if you want.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's up to you. If you want to explain it, go ahead. I don't know.
It was one of the chaplains of his. I don't know why I can't remember his name. It was one of the chaplains of his chapter. Well, he got yelled at. Lorgar himself got bitched at by the Emperor for trying to turn his word into a holy word. For trying to turn the Imperium into a religion.
Like out of all the chapters during the Crusade, his chapter would take the longest. What would take other chapters like a few months to conquer a few systems, it would take him the same time to conquer one. And it's because he was converting them religiously.
Yes.
When the emperor found out, the emperor was appalled, and so he made a public chastising of Lorgar on his home planet, in front of all the other legions, and it shamed him. He was so devastated by the experience because he believed genuinely that the emperor was a god, should be worshipped as a god. He was so ashamed by the experience, sought help in war. He found the chaos gods, and he found the gods he wanted. All he wanted was someone to worship. Well, he found who he wanted to worship, and he fell wholeheartedly into chaos undivided.
And then
Lorgar is one of the only undivided, chaos undivided
traders.
Chapters. Yeah, traders and chapters.
And again, it was one of his chaplains that started to sow the seeds of chaos amongst his brothers.
Yeah. What was it? Fabius Bile? Or no, Fabius Bile's Death Guard.
The next one we have is Jagatai Khan. I don't know a lot about Khan in general.
I do.
I like the White Scars though. They're a fun chapter. So I'll let Hood go off a little bit.
So they're your space cons. They're very nomadic. His whole planet exists on a very nomadic style. Too Long didn't read. They believe in writing the winds and stuff. Like it's cop out, but an easy way to summarize them is kind of like how the Space Wolves, Space Vikings. Well, these are space cons.
Yeah.
He is one of the only good guy Primarchs. The Khan is an oddity amongst his brothers. The Khan rarely speaks, and when he does speak, he has some like very serious shit to say. And it's
Things like very like shinobi-ish.
Yeah, it's one of the things I really appreciate about Jagatai Khan. Jagatai Khan isn't afraid to just call out some bullshit when he sees it, and he's also not afraid to. Yeah, but he's a man of action. He prefers his actions to speak louder than his words.
Yes.
So when he has to use his words, those words are meant to back an action. He's very very awesome dude. Very very awesome Legion. Always perform pretty well on the tabletop. If you want a very mobile Legion, like the way they run their Legion is they're all about bikes and being fast. They fight extremely well in space. And they want to ride the winds through the galaxy, bro. Like that's their goal. They have a very simplistic goal. Space Marine.
Now we have.
They also don't have a lot of casual. Interaction. They actually look out for you.
Now we have Crazy Batman.
Oh, and before we leave Jagatai Khan, one of the Eldar gods has a very, very particular interest in Jagatai.
Yeah, it's the laughing god.
Yeah, Shegarath, and that's where he is.
Yeah, he's currently somewhere in in Kimura.
Yeah.
A whole thing we'll touch on in multiple episodes because that's the whole Eldar thing.
So next one,
Crazy Batman.
the Night Haunter, Conrad Kurz. So Conrad Kurz. Where do we start? So
Where do we start? Conrad Kurz.
let's
is
just start
fucking...
with the planet he landed on. He landed on Gotham City as a fucking planet.
He really did.
Like, fuck, dude. He landed on this planet. It's all corrupt. It's fucked up. There's gangs everywhere. And then on top of this, Conrad Kurz, his superpower is to unwillingly, mind you, see the future
I love
and
him already,
events
stuff he says.
of the future and the events of anyone he interacts with. So if he was to shake your hand, he's gonna get a fucking Aaron Yeager flash of everything you're gonna be involved in, like in relation to him in like his near future. Fucking, and that's the best way I can explain him.
Yep, that is the best way to explain it.
When he met the Emperor and shook the Emperor's hand, he had an Aaron Yeager fucking like flash moment where he's seen the horrors of everything that was gonna go on, and it fucking broke him.
Between the shake of his father's hand and the shake of his brother's hand.
Yeah,
the shake of Horus's hand. He saw he foresaw the heresy.
Yeah, he did. He saw everything that was going to play out. So this is a man who's doomed by always seeing what's going to play out. And then he would do everything in his life to try to change the course of things. And the only way he could change the course of things was by being more and more fucked up. So he delved hard into this, like, well, I'm going to make all these evil people hate me by being as evil as they are. He imagine Batman if Batman, like, went all fucking John Wick on everything.
He is one of the only Primarchs to unalive himself.
And yeah, he is the only. The way it happened is he didn't full on unalive himself. It's not like he just did the act himself. There was an Eldar assassin sent to kill him. He knew for months that the assassin was coming. He allowed the assassin to behead him because he was just tired of it.
Yep.
He didn't know how to fix anything. He didn't know how to cope with his own psyche and the horror of his own legion. Oh, and his legion was fucking horrific. His legion took all of his teachings to an extreme and like became the Night Lords are nothing like their fucking leader. So the idea of Conrad Kurz is use terror to fight terror. But his legion is like use terror for the sake of terror.
Yep. Yeah, they take it to a bit of an extreme. Next we have Angron.
So Angron's a really, really sad tale.
Is what Angron looks like now?
See, and this is where like I know more about the lore on this end. Like I know more. I was collecting Chaos for a while, and I played Chaos Undivided. I wanted to collect Chaos as a whole. I eventually checked out because like after you dig enough into Chaos lore, it's hard to want to collect it. Like at least for me.
you want to shower and you don't feel like you can wash it all off.
Yeah, there's just some stories with these legions and the things they do that are just like, what the fuck, man? And I have a model of that.
So in the picture that you guys see where he is a demon Primarch, you see all those wires coming out of his head? Those are actually like literal pain spikes.
So they're like cybernetic nails. They're called what the fuck are they called? I forgot the name. The iron nails.
I think so, something like that.
So in any case, they're designed to drive further and further into his frontal lobe and to cause a consistent amount of pain while deteriorating his frontal lobe. But it's supposed to do it in a way that doesn't kill him. And because he's a Primarch, his regenerative ability makes it even more impossible for him to die from these fucking nails. So he's in a constant state of pain. His superpower, this is what makes it so sad. Angron's superpower was empathy. Angron has a unparalleled ability to just intuitively understand, and he can't help but feel the feeling of everyone around him. The planet he was dropped on New Syria, was a planet ran by slave overlords. Think Spartacus. These slave overlords would consistently take warriors and fight them in these gladiatorial battles. They'd pit them against each other, and that was like the main driving economic force in this planet, was these gladiatorial Colosseum level battles. Angron was a slave in these battles, and he was having his own Spartacus rebellion and uprising. He was dead in the middle of it. In the middle of his fucking uprising, the Emperor just shows up and is like, hey, fuck your little rebel uprising. Everything on this planet is irrelevant to the greater scheme. We're taking you. Come on, let's go. We got shit to do. And Angron's like, dude, Dad, we have them. If look at the forces you have. Look at all the even just give us the guns. Arm my family. Arm my people. So that we can defeat these aggressors. And yeah, the Emperor was just like, no, not at all. I refuse.
Yeah, because
like, we have shit to do.
Doesn't matter.
And he's like, we have shit to do, and it's better than what you're doing here. Your feelings don't fucking matter. Let's go.
Your feelings don't matter. Let's go. See, they don't matter. They never matter. Don't worry about it.
Dude, he gaslit the fuck out of Angron.
Yeah,
and then Angron resented the Emperor from that point forward. The Emperor literally knocked Angron out and kidnapped him from this thing. Angron's forces were defeated, and his planet continued to be a horrific thing. Angron, because of this whole incident, never forgave the Emperor. There is no coming back from that. Angron became the avatar for fucking Khorne, and now he's just this crazy fucking demon of war. And it's so sad because he just wanted to be loved. He just wanted to hug people.
Yep.
And now he's like this fucking monster.
Next is the
problems.
What was that?
Bad dad problem.
Right. Next we have the
antithesis.
We have the awesome fucking emo dude himself, Corvus Corax.
Lord Edge Lord Raven Lord Corax.
Love fucking Corvus Corax.
Corvus Corax is another good guy. He's also potentially a loyalist demon Primarch.
Yeah, we could see that. We're all hoping to. Most of us are anyway.
So when the heresy popped, there was a battle called the Isfahan 5. On a planet. On a planet called Isfahan 5. It was one of the moons of Isfahan. The Word Bearers, the Death Guard, the Night Lords, and the World Eaters turned on the Raven Guard, the Iron Warriors, was it Ferrus Manus who got his head lopped?
Yep. I was just gonna say that's where Ferrus Manus fucking got his head lopped off.
Yeah.
By Fulgrim.
Okay, and yep. Oh, and the Emperor's Children. That's right. They were against that. So in any case, the heresy started with this event.
And it's totally fine to trail off into the heresy because we only have like 2 more. So it's totally fine to start trailing off into the heresy.
Well, and before I pass up Corax, because I should start there. So Corvus Corax, he grew up on the planet in very similar conditions to Angron, like very similar conditions. There was a tyrannical government that suppressed a lower class. Corax was adopted into this lower class, and he fought as like a Batman style figure for these rebels. When the Emperor showed up, again, Corax was in the middle of his uprising, but he didn't have the armaments necessary to properly overthrow the tyrannical government that he was facing. So the Emperor was like, hey son, over here on this other planet, there's this massive nuclear arms cache from before shit went bad. You could totally use that to go delete your tyrannical government and you can take over. Just saying, you can use it.
Just saying.
But I don't think you should. I think you should make your own decision.
But it's there.
You're welcome to come with me, but it's there. So Corax, after stooling over it, he was like, should I really? And Corax was a big thing about Corax is he wants the least casualties on both sides. Corax he resented the government, but he didn't resent them enough to just outright massacre them or want to use nuclear arms. But he did resort to eventually using those nuclear arms. He overthrew his government. came back to the Emperor, and the Emperor's like, "What did you learn from all?" And he's all that sometimes peace has to be achieved through force. And he's all like, "Oh yeah, you know, good thing that you learned that." Gave him his big pat on the head. Could he not have done the same fucking thing for Angron? Like, come the fuck on, dude. What was your plan? Like,
and all this sows the seeds of treachery throughout the sons.
Yeah, it's almost like the Emperor planned the heresy.
And like each one hates this one and that one, and they, you know, I mean, it's family problems,
they have counters.
right? Like, how's it going, Rona? Welcome in.
So with that, Corvus Corax joined the heresy. I mean, not the heresy, the Crusade, and then went on to participate. Was a victim of the Isfahan 5. Because of that, Corvus, and this is where we get a lot of our emo jokes. Corvus literally went into an emo mode. He went back to his home planet. He hid in his tower. Like, literally, he has a tower.
He has a tower.
He went and hid in his tower for months at a time. He refused to speak to even his closest Marines, any advisors. He refused to speak to his brother Primarchs. He refused to speak to anybody. He locked himself away. He meditated. And during that meditation, he decided that he needed to leave everyone behind with no word and just fly into the Eye of Terror.
Yep.
The Eye of Terror is literally a hole to hell in the middle of the galaxy that spans the center of the galaxy.
Yep.
The whole center.
And that's part of the warp, which is an episode all of it itself.
Yeah. We'll probably do that week. An episode where we talk just this week.
The next Primarch is Redacted. And then the last one is Alfarius and Omegon.
Alfarius and Omegon are kind of an interesting conundrum. They're twins. They're twin Primarchs. But we're not 100% if one of them is just a Marine. Because Alfarius and Omegon are an oddity. All of the Primarchs are like leagues bigger than the rest of their Marines. So like some of the biggest Primarchs would be like Angron. Well, and of course he's a Demon Primarch now, so you know, give it what you will. But Angron's like I think it's 16 feet or 18 feet tall. One that we know of for sure. So Reboot Gilliman is like 16 foot tall fucking human.
Yeah.
Big son of a bitch. Lehman Russ is supposed to be bigger. So is the Lion. The Lion is supposed to be a massive fucking dude. Alfarius and Omegon are not this case. Alfarius and Omegon actually look just like their Marines. They're the same size as their Marines. Almost all of their legion looks very similar to each other. And there's this whole espionage thing built into them. We don't know for sure whether they're neutral for chaos or for loyalty for humanity. Like we don't know.
Yeah,
and that's baked into their lore.
So
their lore is some of the hardest to understand.
He has what they call the Alpha Legion.
Yeah, thank you.
So think very Negan. So if you're a Walking Dead fan, think Negan. Remember, I am Negan. Hood's Negan. We're all Negan. Everybody's Alfarius. Everybody's Omegon. So if they're ever captured, they're Alfarius. They are Omegon.
If their plot dude, and they will do this shit just like Negan. If their plot even comes close to being exposed, suddenly everybody is Alfarius. Even people who aren't involved, they make sleeper agents and shit specifically just to throw people off. All of a sudden, you can be working your job and you just start chanting, "I am Alfarius, I am Alfarius." And you're like, who the fuck's Alfarius? Why the fuck am I saying this?
You're like, well, whatever. I'm Alfarius too, I guess.
Yeah. Like, they're
not wholly traitorous and they're not wholly loyalist.
All we know for sure is either Alfarius or Omegon were loyalists. So one of them was a loyalist and the other was a heretic. One of them died and the other assumed the other's position. We don't know who died and who assumed whose position. We also don't even know for sure whether they died. So they could both be active and using their own legion to fight their own little weird Cold War. Oh, it's crazy. So yeah, think of the Cold War, think of like hardcore espionage and like nobody can trust anyone. Like that's Alfarius Omega. It's the twin Primarch.
The fact that I am in a server with some friends who are Warhammer nerds and like 5 of them have the name Alfarius makes more sense now. Well, now you know, because knowledge is power.
Yeah, the idea is that Alfarius survived.
So now,
But you'll also hear I am Omegon.
Yep. And that'll determine, whichever one you hear would determine which one you think fell to chaos.
And I'm
gonna have to go look at their profile pictures to tell who is who.
And I'm probably wrong. I'll have to look back up and get it.
And they also do use the.
I think Alfarius was the heretic and Omegon.
I think you're right. And they use the iconography of the Hydra. Because if you take one,
it very well represents them.
More come, right? That is the end of the Primarchs. So with all the boys back together with Daddy, and some of them starting to fucking duke it out with each other, 2 of them are gone. And they're literally splitting down the middle.
So the leader of this ragtag band of jackasses with daddy issues and mental illness is is Horus Lupercal, the first one found.
The first one found is the first one, well, not the first one to turn traitor, but the one, because his father had the idea of giving him War Master. He got the fucking title of War Master and was
Horus
the
didn't
one.
Want to lead either.
Huh?
Horus didn't want to lead either.
No, he did
Primarchs
not.
thought that they should vote. The Primarchs wanted to have a vote on who should lead. And there was, 3? I think there was 3 that they really thought were going to lead, and the Emperor had Horus lead instead.
Yep.
So if I remember right, the ones that were better suited for leading, as well as the other Primarchs wanted to be led by, Sanguinius was a big one.
Yep.
So that's something to talk about there. Let's talk about the issues between these Primarchs. Let's talk about who actually butted heads with who, now that we've covered them. So, when it comes to Sanguinius, nobody hated Sanguinius. Everyone loved Sanguinius. The only one who even got close to, like, negative issues with Sanguinius would have been Fulgrim.
Yep.
And it's because of his immense jealousy over Sanguinius. But everyone loved him. Everyone hated Ferrus Manus.
Yep.
Everyone hated Perturabo.
Yep.
Nobody understood Conrad Kurz. They didn't hate him. They just
They just didn't understand him. He was.
Yeah, they couldn't relate to him. Same thing with Jagatai Khan. Actually, Jagatai Khan was one of the first ones considered under suspicion for heresy.
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. No, I turned him off for the night, Rona. That way we weren't interrupted with redemptions and stuff. Yeah, it's more podcasting side of stuff than wanting to like fuck around.
Oh, we could probably throw that in the title.
Yeah, I'll do it for the next one.
It's a good idea. So let's see.
Angron was misunderstood.
Yep. A lot of people also like the one of the big issues with Angron too is nobody tried to relate to him when he would explain his situation to his other brothers. No one really tried to relate to him. Everyone was just like, get over it, dude. And it's so weird because at least Korax should have understood.
Right.
But Corvus Corax and Angron actually don't have a lot of conversations with each
other. Nope. Lehman Russ absolutely fucking hated his brother Magnus.
Yes.
Hated his brother Magnus.
Hated every little thing about
him. He does not like Psychers. He does not trust them. He hated everything about Magnus. Corvus Corax hated Fulgrim.
Yep.
To the
Couldn't
point that
stand him.
right now where Corvus Corax is somewhere in the warp hunting his brother down.
No, he's hunting Lorgar.
He's hunting Lorgar? That's right, he is hunting Lorgar.
He checked Fulgrim. I don't remember what Fulgrim's up to now, but so Korax, real quick thing. After he flew into the Eye of Terror, he went dark for a while. Nobody knew what happened to him. He was presumed dead for quite a while, but then it was found that on some daemon planets, there was a figure wrapped in shadow that would take the form of monstrous raven that would attack and terrorize demon, specifically the planets of Fulgrim and Lorgar. Lorgar was being hunted by Corvus Corax. The thing about all the Primarchs is whatever deal the Emperor made with the Chaos Gods obviously relates to the Primarchs. The Primarchs have the warp itself built into them.
Yep.
Each one of them represents something in the warp. Each one of them has some kind of connection to the Chaos Gods.
Oh, and Lorgar's fucking terrified.
Yeah, and
Lorgar's absolutely
Lorgar's
absolutely fucking terrified of being hunted by his brother.
This is also why Lorgar hasn't made a return. Lorgar is stuck in his his tower, his mansion on his demon planet, because Corvus Corax is waiting for him as a daemon primarch. When Corvus went into the warp, his inner warp energies took over and he embraced them, and now he is a demon primarch, but one that fights for humanity. And he's using those powers to just go fucking hard on his brothers in the warp.
That's some of the biggest. Oh, another big one is Gilliman and Mortarion.
Yes, Gilliman and Mortarion have a huge feud. Mortarion's another one who got shit on by the Emperor.
Yes.
That's another one. Mortarion. So Mortarion was trying to overthrow. Mortarion was born on a toxic planet.
Yeah, he was born on a death world.
Yes. Because of his Primarch abilities, he was able to survive on this death world, but he resented the leaders of this world. Again, very similar to Angron and Corvus Corax. But so in his little rebellion, he was trying to climb this fucking mountain, this like deathly mountain. The way they're like, the person he was trying to kill basically set it up so the closer you get to him, the more toxic things you have to endure.
Yep.
The Emperor could have helped Mortarion, but he didn't. Instead, what the Emperor did is he showed up, killed the dude, and was like, let's go. This is over. And Mortarion was like, you don't understand how important it was for me to kill him. And the Emperor's like, it's all irrelevant. Let's fucking go.
Yep.
Like,
I no longer care. We got shit to do.
Yep. And these were also Primarchs found later. So you can argue that the Emperor was stressed that his plan may not work out. It could be that whatever his scrying that he was doing to see the future was starting to become clouded, and that he couldn't see humanity's future anymore. So he started making irrational decisions. But I don't know. I don't fully agree. I feel like if you always have the ability to see the outcome of something, especially due to your action, you're going to consistently tailor your action towards the outcome you want. And
I must listen to the crystal.
Yeah, that's a great example.
I have to be with Jessica.
Yeah, dude. And one of my examples for this is playing a video game. Like, how many RPGs have you gone through where you get to the end of the game and you're just like, wow, that was such a dissatisfying ending. I'm never making that decision again.
Right, and you look at it and you look back at your decisions and you're like, fuck, I know where I fucked up.
Yeah. Now, imagine being in an always a forward constant where there's no save state. You can't just go back, but you have the foreknowledge of the end game. Like, you spoiled the story for yourself, so you know what's going to happen at the end, and now you're trying to tailor all of your actions and events to meet the ending that you want in your tell your own tales.
Yep.
And then come to find out, you may not even get it.
Hmm.
Because the story's writing itself at the same time.
So now that we've covered some of the feuds between them, another feud within the Loyalists is that of Lionel Johnson and Lehman Russ. They don't really care for each other.
Yeah, they butt heads hard. Part of that also has to do with so Lehman Russ is
They're very similar, and that's a big thing that clashes.
well, yeah, that's a really good point to bring up. So during the Crusade, the Dark Angels were the largest legion of space marines. Like they had the most numbers, they participated in the most battles, and they pulled a lot of weight. So did Russ's forces. Russ's forces were also the ones who checked other forces. So those two redacted that we glossed over, which there's nothing we can do, by the way. I wish we could elaborate more on the two redacted Primarchs, but that they are by design meant to be that way.
Yep.
It's like we stated earlier, they're supposed to be your they're meant for fan. Since day one, since Rogue Trader, since all the way back in the day, like
Yeah,
30
first and
fucking
second
years
edition.
ago. Yeah, they were always
30,
intended
35
to
years
be
ago.
your opportunity to write your own lore. It won't be, and like the thing about Warhammer is you can write all the lore you want to fill in the holes that you see fit, but it won't be accepted by the greater community in like
Unless they like it.
Because that's also the nature of the lore.
Yep.
The lore is always meant to be disputed. Yeah, so unreliable narrator. So Lehman Russ. Russ is one of the only Primarchs who actually knows what happened to the two redacted legions. I also feel like where they were discovered in the timeline, in my opinion, doesn't match well enough to what's going on. Because like, what the fuck did they do? How did it was what, the third legion found is redacted?
Yep, third and the 18th.
See, I was under the impression it was the second and 18th. But that makes sense.
I mean, that's the second Legion, and the second and the 18th Legion.
Oh, so it is the second and 18th Legion, but the order that they were
The order that they were found
third.
in is third and one from the bottom.
Thank you.
But yeah, we can cover their some of their feuds a little bit later.
Yeah.
But
deep dive.
Ultimately, they pretty much split in half. And
Almost
Horus,
exactly, or actually, I think exactly.
yeah, it's exactly half. By design. Horus decides to literally turn on Terra. So like Hood had said about our buddy.
Well, we should talk about the ritual.
We should talk about what?
The Eldar ritual that happened to Horus.
Oh shit! Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Horus. What led to the Horus being corrupted by chaos? Like a lot of us think that this is where it all really started. Horus was wounded by a blade of chaos. I think it was a blade or some poison crafted by Nurgle, but either way, it affected him in a way in which the only way he could it was a warp spawned virus and disease, so he had to be cured through the warp. Essentially, they couldn't find anyone to help him other than this group of Eldar, which were Eldrads, I believe, followers of Eldrad and Ulthwé.
Ulthwé, yep.
So they
didn't he go to Ulthwé himself?
I think so, yes. They tried to warn him. They tried to warn him what he was capable of and what he was destined to do. And he went into the warp. And while the whole goal of this too was the Chaos Gods just wanted to get Horus into the warp. It didn't matter how they did it. All that mattered is they needed to speak to Horus personally. The four Chaos Gods spoke to Horus personally while he was in the warp being. they showed him an image. Now here's the jux. They showed him an image of a destroyed humanity. They showed him they showed him the state of the 41st and 42nd millennium. Now, mind you, he's in the 31st or 30th millennium.
10 millennia. 10 plus millennia ahead.
Yeah, he's fucking 10,000 years. 10,000 years before this, before these events. They show him 10,000 years out, what the state of the universe is going to be like. But they omit that it is specifically because of his action after this interaction. They convince Horus. They convince Horus that his father, the Emperor, is going to create this great heresy, and that he robbed the Chaos Gods, who appeared to him as benevolent beings. They brainwashed Horus into committing to the heresy. So after the events of that, Horus, when he came back to, healed from his wounds, came back as a completely different person.
Yep.
He was now imbued with the energy of the 4 Chaos Gods, undivided. And he was essentially, from that point forward, a fucking puppet of chaos.
Yep.
The reality they showed him was only going to take place if he agreed with their decision. If he let them puppet him. They showed him the reality that he was going to create and omitted everything that it was his actions that caused it. They played him like a fucking fiddle.
Yep. So he comes to, fucking realizes that he fucking did almost die, and gets all this fucking new power from the Chaos Gods, literally from Chaos Undivided, and grabs his fucking legion and says, let's go. We're going to siege Terra. His brother, Magnus the Red, we touched on this a little bit ago.
Through Zech. Yep, through Zech.
Through Zech. Found...
Yeah, that's where I tangent too hard.
Yeah. Used the webway and took down all of his father's firewalls of this project that he was working on, truly in secret. The only other person that knew about the webway project was Malkador the Sigillite.
And Vulcan.
Oh, and Vulcan. That's right, because Vulcan helped actually build it.
Vulcan was the one crafting literally the tools to create it.
So fucking...
There's a theory too. Now, mind you, I have to bring it up. It's not a good theory. There's a theory that Jagatai Khan may have had some knowledge of the webway or the project that was going down, but we don't know for sure until he's brought back. But it's possible that Jagatai Khan knew about the webway project.
So the Emperor, pissed as shit, fucking scalds Magnus. And also, at this point, Magnus isn't supposed to be using his fucking psychic abilities either.
Yeah, because before this, there was a... one of the issues with using psychic abilities, and Squeeze like lightly touched on this.
Yes.
So I think we'll pull the Band-Aid off and just hit it for what
Go
it
for
is.
it. Because this is already happening across the galaxies at this point.
Psychic individuals who are connected to the warp are essentially portals for the warp energy. If any of you have played Dragon Age, it's damn near identical to... I actually think the Dragon Age writers took inspiration from the Warhammer setting while making the Fade. The Fade. It is so on point with how it works there. In the Dragon Age setting, you have mages, and the way magic works is there's this mirrored parallel universe, just like the warp, to what they experienced. And mages have an intuitive direct connection to the Fade, and they can channel that magical energy into reality. But there are always going to be demons who are whispering to them and asking for a way in and looking for a way through. It's the same thing for Psychers in Warhammer.
Yep.
In Warhammer 40k, to have...
And they'll literally pour out of your fucking forehead.
Yeah, so to have psychic abilities is to resist the whispers of horrific, unfathomable beings that only want to invade your body and use you as a portal to get through to the greater realm. They will lie to you. They will tell you whatever they need to. They will fabricate all kinds of hallucinations for you to experience in order to get their way through. So to be a psyker is to be a threat to everything living around you. And it's wild because it was never intended this way. The whole way the warp was built, the old ones and all that shit, it was never intended to be this wild. But like we talked in the first episode 0, not the first episode, in episode 0, The War in Heaven, there was technology and things going on in that era of time that were so beyond what we can understand that our universe exists in a state of post-apocalyptic and recovery from the devastating weapons. And the warp is one of those devastating. At the end of the day, living creatures in this setting have souls, and that's it. Living creatures in this setting have souls because of war fought in unfathomable millennia before us by creatures that we can't even comprehend.
Yes.
And two of them are still around. No, three of them are still around. They're hardly recognizable from what they were millennia ago, but they're still around. And then that's what leads to the greater picture of the Emperor's plan. It's why, like, as lore enthusiasts, we want to try to figure out what was the greater plan. Did the Emperor actually intend for the heresy to happen? In my opinion, you can't have that much wisdom and foresight of the future and
not know it's going to happen.
Yeah, to not actively intend for these things. You can't have individuals and characters like Angron and Mortarion and, well, Magnus to a degree. I actually think Magnus is one of those moments where it shows that the Emperor actually is human. He's not just some crazy fucking chaos monster that's been puppeting humanity. I do think he is just human because he makes mistakes. Because he makes grave mistakes that humans would make, like hubris.
Yep.
And arrogance.
Yep. So as
Thank you for indulging me too.
Yeah, not a problem, brother. This has actually been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this. So as Horus sieges Terra, we have legions and legions. I mean, we have like 10 legions that join with Horus. Not all of them are sieging Terra. Not all of them are on Terra. Some of them are waging battles against their loyalist brothers on other planets. But we're gonna focus on Terra currently. The Big E himself had to close the webway. But in doing so, he knew that he couldn't fully close it because humanity needs access to the warp. So he told his homie, his best companion, Malkador the Sigillite, to sit on the golden throne, to hold the webway closed, knowing full well that that would kill his best friend. Knowing full well that he would not, even as a perpetual, he will not survive.
Alright, I'm back.
I was just talking about how the Big E had Malkador sit on the golden throne to hold the webway closed. Full well knowing.
That's actually how that's how he earned the Sigillite.
Yeah, that's how he earned the Sigillite. Full well knowing that it would kill his, like, truly one friend.
Well, and like, this is something I respect about Malkador. At the end of the day, as horrific of an individual Malkador may or may not have been, he made an ultimate sacrifice for the sake of his species. Is he redeemed of everything he did? No, not necessarily. But in this setting, like, humanity may well only be around because of the sacrifice. But that's also the issue with the setting, is you get these characters who are such evil bastards, and they become martyrs on their deaths, and then people propagate their fucking philosophies. That's where the ecclesiarchy has gotten so bad. The Sisters of Battle only exists because of one asshole and his fucking selfish
George
desire.
Van Dyer. We'll get to that. That's a whole thing.
Fucking Van Dyer, bro. Yeah,
Fuck you,
that'll.
Van
So
Dyer.
Van Dyer is a perfect topic for just.
Yeah, that's a whole sisters topic. We'll get to that. So the Big E himself, the Emperor, grabbed his two favorite sons after Horus, obviously. He grabbed the Angel Sanguinius and Rogel Dorn. So, Horus had fucked with teleportation shit. So as they're trying to teleport...
Wait, are we talking about the Siege of Terra?
Yes, we're talking about the Siege of Terra.
Oh, so let me clarify real quick. Nobody knew where the Blood Angels and the Ultramarines were because of Alfarius and Omega.
Yeah.
The Alpha Legion successfully kept the Ultramarines and the Blood Angels in isolation during the immediate events of Terra, but they were able to independently work their way to Terra and attack Horus. But I have to clarify that the Emperor never had a chance with personally never had a chance with Roboot or Sanguinius during the siege. And I feel like that's important for what leads up to happen.
Yeah, because Sanguinius was fighting fucking greater demons of core and like huge bloodthirsters. We're talking.
There was one that was named, and I don't remember his name, but he was this like fucking legendary, like bloodthirster of Khorne. They're literally flying through. They're flying over the cities, Terra, and fighting. Okay, so we didn't mention this earlier too. Sanguinius is called the Angel because he literally has fucking wings. Oh, my bad. But yeah, he literally has fucking wings.
Yeah, he has giant angel wings.
He flies with his psychic ability. He's also compared to Magnus in his
psychic prowess.
Oh, we also forgot to mention earlier that the lion, his superpower is foresight. Psychic foresight within a fight. He fights like a Jedi and a Sith. He always knows your next step intuitively. Sanguinius could do the same thing, but not to the same. But that's also what made Sanguinius such a badass. Sanguinius fought like a fucking Jedi. Like, imagine a fucking 12-foot, 16-foot tall fucking human with these angel wings that can use the Force and just flying through, fighting this fucking crazy. How do I describe him? Almost like a Catholic demon.
Yeah, that's really the best way to put it.
Like fucking.
But
fighting the Jersey Devil.
Fighting the Jersey Devil. But the end of the heresy.
Yeah.
The Big E grabs his two favorite sons, the Angel and Rogel Dorn, and goes to the Vengeful Spirit, which is Horus's ship, to deliver.
No, that's not the current story. That's what I was getting at, though.
Oh, is it?
That's the original story. No, the current story is that Sanguinius, after defeating the Bloodthirster, immediately went without communicating to anyone. Sanguinius, in a blood feud, went straight to the Vengeful. He was the first one there, first one on the scene, and had his encounter with Horus.
So Sanguinius, I appreciate the
Rogel Dorn. Yeah, Rogel Dorn went with the Emperor, and Rogel Dorn was the first one in the room before the Emperor.
So Sanguinius,
the longest minute.
Yeah, the longest second.
Yeah, the longest second. Yeah, I confuse minute because it takes a Primarch. Literally, what we perceive in a second, Primarch has the equivalent of a minute in time.
Yeah. So Sanguinius, like Hood said, being the first to find his brother, just starts whooping ass. And was able to put a giant hole in Horus's armor before unfortunately being struck down by his brother and killed.
The new story says too that Sanguinius fought him with a rage that he's never unleashed before. He blasted Horus with a focus psychic blast on his chest, and that's what chinked his armor. And then he came in and unleashed a fury melee strikes. But it was during this that Sanguinius lost. So Sanguinius lost his sense of self and was struck by Horus. Horus drove his power fist or his power claw into Sanguinius' gut and lifted him. Sanguinius cried. Sanguinius was like, "I'm sorry, brother. Sorry it's come to this," and then passed. His legion witnessed simultaneously the actions. So that's something I forgot to mention. When Sanguinius entered the room and went into his Black Rage, which is known as the Black Rage, his legion simultaneously witnessed the events while he was enacting them out.
Yep.
So they themselves seen Horus slay Sanguinius.
So
and
his legion, the Blood
it
Angels,
left them with
has
a psychic scar.
they can permanently have this problem. Much love, Trey Dizzle. I appreciate you coming through, bro.
Much love, homie. Get
They
some
all
good rest.
they all have this flaw called the Black Rage. So let's say Hood and I are battle brothers fighting on the same line together as Blood Angels, and I just look at fucking Hood and go, Horus.
Well, it's unlikely you'd look at me. It's more that you would look at the Imperial that we're fighting alongside. Or it could be that it is our enemy. Like, imagine we're in the trenches and we're fighting, and like Squee said, we're there and we're fighting, and all of a sudden, Squee just yells out, "Horus! You son of a bitch!" And he gets up out of the trench and he just books it in the middle of the front line. He enters a state of delusion that all Blood Angels are inevitably cursed to face. You have to reenact the traumatic event that your Primarch went through on their death.
Yep.
You see
Literally
every enemy
as Horus.
Yes.
You literally witness your Primarch's death and feel your Primarch's death.
This is including Marines who were not alive during this. Is the scar is so strong it affected the gene sequence. Brand new Blood Angel of the Primaris strain still experience Black Rage. Now, Sanguinius, what happened to him? Because we have this idea that when someone dies, they're not just straight up dead. Their soul is now in the warp. So what happened to Sanguinius? There's a very high chance that Sanguinius still exists in spirit in the warp and has been aiding and helping through his.
Yep. I believe that he is a warp entity at this point.
I think it has to be possible
because he does still have communication with Dante.
Well, how do you explain the Sanguinors?
Yeah, exactly. And then again, Dante, he will not let Dante die.
Yep.
He has told Dante and had conversations with Dante.
So the leader of the Blood Angels is Dante. He is the oldest living Space Marine in the Imperium at the moment. He survived the Horus Heresy. He was a part of the Crusades. He's been living for a long fucking.
Yeah, he's a good like 10K.
It's a trip with Space Marines too. They're essentially immortal.
But they can still die of old age.
Yep.
If allowed. Ultimately, right?
Yeah.
If
the canon says it.
So Rogel Dorn is the first in the room, sees his brother slain, laying in a pool of his own blood.
Sees Horus maddened and fueled
by the powers, fueled by the ruinous powers.
Yep.
His father comes in and strikes him right where, like they have it out. His father and Horus and his father have it out.
The New Lord, they have a conversation first.
Oh, do they?
Hmm. They come in and they have a brief moment of like, what the fuck? Like how could you do this? How could you do this to your brother? And Horace just, man, it's so sad with Horace too, because Horace just spouts everything that you'd expect a pissed off toddler to spout
A
out.
fucking pissed off toddler with his mouth. That's great.
Yeah, dude. He spits all this shit at the Emperor, and like there's this veil behind the Emperor's writing that like he knew he caused this and he
Right.
has to let it play out.
Bad dad
Which
award
led,
right here.
yeah, which led to him actually being harmed. So Horace had a brief moment where he was starting to reel and like feel regret, and then he was taken over by the Chaos Gods and fully enveloped. It's only when the Emperor killed him, when the Emperor finally dealt the blow to kill Horus, did Horus snap out of everything and realize that he was the problem the whole time.
But not before.
But sadly,
But sadly, the Emperor lost an eye and an arm.
he also destroyed everything that is Horus.
And yes, upon killing Horus, he destroyed him to the soul.
Horus asked for mercy. The Emperor was unable
And the
to
Emperor
give
said, "Fuck you. Here's your mercy right here."
it. He couldn't risk the Chaos Gods bringing any of him back or bringing any of that back. So he literally disintegrated everything that is Horus on a warp level. So there is no Horus left. There's no return of Horus.
Talks about talking about costing an arm and a leg for a soul snatching job.
Holy shit, that's so on point. Ha!
So upon this, Rogaldorn picks up his father's arm.
Fucking armor. Dude, there's an eye for an eye there. There's an arm and a leg that he had to give.
Yeah,
and
dude.
a soul loss. Like, fuck, Septic. That's a. I know you were joking.
That's as on point as it gets, though. So Rogaldorn picks up his father's arm and his father's corpse. Well, he's still alive. He's mortally wounded, but he's still alive.
Yes, the Emperor is still alive.
And they take him to the Golden Throne, where Malkador, where they come to and find Malkador, just turned to dust.
And like we were talking about earlier, when Magnus broke through the webway, it pulled the Emperor completely off of any other project working. When he made Horus the War Master, it was so that he could go back to working the webway project and just not worry about it. Wrong fucking leader to pick, but whatever.
But whatever. So the Golden Throne is made to hold open the webway to use the Astronomicon.
It was supposed to seat Magnus.
Yeah, it was supposed to seat Magnus. That was Magnus's whole plan.
That was everything about his design. Everything about Magnus was designed to sit and hold the Golden Throne against the Chaos. And Magnus is the only Primarch who has that psychic ability.
Yeah, that's
because Noctor's just a human.
That's a great way to take in this setting, actually, Septic. So now with the Emperor sitting on the Golden Throne,
yeah, no, it is a really good way to take away this setting.
It is.
You also have, we joke about it quite often, but it's actually a really serious setting.
Yeah.
This particular setting rips off everything in the last.
So now the Emperor sits on the Golden Throne as mostly a corpse.
Corpse god.
He's being kept alive through literally thousands of psychers are sacrificed a day.
A day. Yeah.
Literally 1,000 a day. They go through and they round them up in these things that are known as the Black Ships.
It's one of the primary goals of the Ecclesiarchy and the Sisters of Battle. Or not the Sisters of Battle, the Sisters of Silence.
Yep. He never wanted to be worshipped as the god that he has become.
So he claims. I think after enough of digging into it, I do think that he intended to become a god, because the only way to fight these gods is to unify everybody under one god. So if he wipes the slate clean and there's no argument over what god exists, and there's just only the emperor and everybody worships the emperor. He basically set himself up through the Horus heresy to be the only justifiable human god. That's also where, like, so that a lot of us lore enthusiasts, that's where we try to poke holes in it, in the emperor's rhetoric. This is why I love the unreliable narrator too, is because almost all the info we have in this setting comes from humanity's perspective.
Yep.
There's very little in this setting that is
It's written by a Xenos race.
Yeah. We had Tau for a little bit, but
We have a
Tau
little
got
bit of Orc too.
Yeah.
There's a couple Orc books now.
Orc didn't get the same reaction Tau did. The reason I bring up Tau was the original intent for Tau was good guys.
Yep.
A lot of the fan base before Tau was invented genuinely asked for good guys. Like, can we have one faction that are genuinely good? And the idea was, let's make the Tau. They represent Star Trek integrated into our setting. They represent the idea of, like, most things that us as modern individuals can, like, relate to. They represent, like, unity and, like, for the greater good shit, and, like, not at the expense of the individual, but at the expense of the greater whole. Like, they represented a lot of, like, positive socialism, positive communism, not the negative shit that comes with the Marxism. It tends to happen in those sects of government. That was the original idea for the Tau, but it didn't play out that way. A lot of fans were bothered that the Tau were these, like, perfect good guys. What sucks is, it's, in my opinion, it's better to have a race in this setting that is genuinely for the good guy. Like, a genuinely good race is a good thing to have in this setting. But it's also okay to have them and their cause be hopeless. And that was the point of the Tau.
Yep.
That they were too young, they're too small, and it doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter how quick they develop their technology, it doesn't matter how quick they make alliances, it's all too little too late. That's the real grim dark.
Okay, so I think we're going to start to wrap this up here. I think we've touched a good amount of, and I'll get to that question here in a minute,
Oh, yeah.
Septic. I'm actually going to open this up for any questions. Now,
That's the Emperor of Mankind.
This is the Emperor of Mankind sitting on the golden throne. I think we've touched a good amount on the Primarchs, on the Horus Heresy. Again, each one of these is kind of its own topic as well. Really good overview and quick, like, blam dump here. Gonna really get
we're still getting our feet wet with this too.
Yeah, this whole podcasting idea is pretty new.
This will be an evolving project.
We'll continue to evolve and do other things from here. So
we
then
greatly appreciate all of you.
I do. I greatly appreciate all the people that have come through, all the people that have.
We appreciate your feedback. Any bit of feedback you guys have while we're doing this, if you guys think there's something that we could do better, a better way we can
do let us know. Feel free to DM me. I have get at me on my Discord.
If you guys are more interested in the random tangents and the, like, casual spin we have on it, let us know. If you're interested in more of the factual approach and the more, like, getting down to reading, like, you know, trying as best as we can to give you a one-to-one experience, let us know.
Yeah, let us know how you guys want. No, I'm actually gonna call it now.
Okay.
I don't want to go another hour. I think four might be a little too long.
I disagree, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and then to answer on who Skelly Boy is, this is the current state of the Emperor. As he is fed thousands of Psyker souls a day. I also think I have what I have for now.
Oh yeah, and this is old art too. The old art's really.
I'm out of notes for this episode personally. So if you want a tangent, we can tangent.
Well, that's
Um,
what I figured.
and
I figured
I'm
last
down
hour
for the
we
next,
do.
like I said, for the next, like, if you don't want to start up quite yet, you don't have to. We can. That's why I've opened it up for questions. If anybody has any other questions
That's what
on
I was
what
trying
we've
to get at
touched,
too.
um,
Is we should, yeah, that's something I was trying to get to. Is we at least have another hour that we can answer any specific questions anyone would have. We can touch it. We can go on our own tangents. We can talk about whatever.
I do think the next episode I personally have notes for lined up already is just going to be the Imperium as a whole. We'll kind of gloss over the Imperium, what the Imperium takes up, some roundabout numbers, because numbers aren't necessarily like
They're so bad in this
they're
setting.
not
Let me
necessarily
let me make
concrete, but they give you an
let me make
idea of
this
scale.
let me make this clear. One of the worst issues I have with this setting is the numbers. When
Yeah.
you try to break down, okay, I'm gonna let y'all know the numbers of death that happen in fucking even the most basic conflict in this setting don't even match real world like conflict. The writers really hiccup there. So like one of the areas where immersion, at least my immersion breaks, is hearing the numbers that they will spit out. So you'll have this sense, at least for me, I have a sense of cognitive dissonance that I have to create for myself when it comes to the numbers. I have to take the numbers they tell me on like battles and the scale that happen, and I have to inflate them because they don't realistically match
Yeah.
what would actually be displayed.
But it also
Like so
and
like the Horus Heresy, it's sad, but like more people died in World War One than the entire Horus.
yeah. But it gives a sense of scale.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, no, well,
And
we can
and
inflate
my
some.
numbers all go off of after the heresy.
Yeah.
And they're ridiculous. And again, it's for that sense of scale. Um,
Yeah, and some of those numbers don't match well. So like Codex Astartes says each chapter is only allowed
1,000.
1,000 Marines. So like how are you supposed to deploy 1,000 Marines across a whole fucking star sector, a whole a whole piece of like a whole piece of the universe? Like how are you supposed to distribute 1,000?
Right? I mean, like, look at PDF forces and guard and like I have really really good notes for the Imperium. I thought my notes would be longer for this, but it is what it is.
This is why you don't cut off. Let it play.
This is why what?
This is why you don't cut off tangents.
Right?
Just let it play to fill in that time slot.
Um,
No, we'll figure out a better structure.
yeah.
Too, because I didn't know like where you wanted how this to play out in time wise. I assumed that we would stretch out what we're talking about till
Yeah,
at least 4 hours,
I thought we were gonna.
and I was trying to, but we blasted through the.
Yo, I appreciate you, Genesis Core. Thanks for coming through, my dude. Um, fuck yeah, I didn't have stopped so many tangents. I guess. Is what it is.
It's a learning process.
Yeah.
We'll get this.
Well, before I let y'all go, how about we all do a dab together?
Yeah, let's do it. And then we'll find a good raid target.
Septic wants me to raid him. I think this week I will, Septic. I think next Wednesday I'm gonna raid somebody in the Warhammer community. That way I can get this out a little bit more through the community that wants it more a little bit, I guess. That makes sense. Yeah,
Yes.
and Genesis Core, who's here as well.
So, holding.
Oh, so hot already, guys. Sorry.
All right, so this particular picture, we will elaborate on some lore behind this. ADHD is fantastic. Look at something,
Yay!
you're like, here comes all this like fucking knowledge. So, the Emperor of Mankind is interred on this thing that is called the Golden Throne. It doesn't look very golden. Doesn't very even look much like a throne. It looks more like a fucking tomb, and that is what it's more like. So the Golden Throne was designed to be the axis position for the humanity's webway. Humanity was trying to build basically this metro system through hell that would allow them to connect their civilization
The other
through
planets.
through a strong defended infrastructure. They would essentially, what this system would allow humanity to do. Humanity would be able to materialize any armed force at
Benjamin
any position in the
Danklin, how's it
galaxy
going?
within it. Oh, that's a fantastic. But humanity would be able to materialize a responsive force anywhere across the galaxy through this.
Yes.
And they would also be able to, and it's not just a military thing. They would be able to transfer resources,
Trade, supply,
yeah.
like all of it.
Humanity would have been connected within a snap of a finger for anything you can think of. All the resources of humanity would have been at literally at a whim.
And so this is why people say Magnus fucked up, because
yeah, this is where
this
a lot
whole
of people
project
say fucked up.
and humanity is now so split that and again, like I said before, space transmissions are so gargled and jargled, and fucking like bureaucracy in the 41st millennium sucks ass. If this project would have come through all the way, it wouldn't be such ass.
Now, one question I ask myself, why did the Emperor not share the information about the project that he was partaking in, the Webway project, to Magnus? If his goal the whole time was to have Magnus sit on the throne and be the conduit that holds back the Chaos God, why did he not explain to him the nature? Out of all of the Primarchs, it really feels like he went out of his way to not explain to Magnus the extent of it. There was never a point where the Emperor really sat down with Magnus and explained to him like how serious the repercussions of his actions have. There was never a point where he was like, yo, this dude you're talking to in the warp is literally
it's bad.
The devil. Yeah, it's like Lovecraft devil too, not Christian devil, but like Lovecraft devil. Like, you're talking to Cthulhu.
Yeah,
your best
right?
friend's fucking Cthulhu, dude. Like, come on. Any moment he could have stepped in and had a good dad moment and been like, look, the friends you just made in the warp are not the best friends. Let me explain to you now
you're
how
hanging
the world
out.
works.
You're literally hanging out with the wrong crowd, bro.
yeah, dude. Like, let me explain to you how the world works now and give you some education on, like,
they're
clicks.
on the wrong side of the tracks.
But he never did. He was just like, accept my authority, accept what I've told you previously, and follow to it. He just all he wanted Magnus to do was fall in line. And it's bullshit, because Magnus was never a fall in line individual. One of the greatest issues with Magnus is arrogance. Magnus has to test everything himself.
And this
if
also,
you tell him fire's hot, he has to touch the pan.
Right.
That is the kind of kid Magnus was.
And that also leads into something that was brought up, or not brought up, but made apparent during this time too, which is the Imperial lie that chaos
Yes.
just doesn't exist.
Yes. So for
Demons and everything,
that was,
all that's actually just nightmare and folklore. None of it actually exists, which
so when
is
we
a
talked
full ass
earlier
lie.
about, yeah, when we talked earlier about the age of strife,
Yeah.
when we talked about the bronze men, the men of iron, the golden men, the AI integration, the emperor, it really feels like the emperor. So if the heresy was not the emperor's plan, let's assume that the emperor didn't plan the heresy. If that's the case, then it seems that everything preceding, or no, not preceding, everything after the event of the golden age of technology was just him reacting to him fucking up. I think that his plan was the golden age. Like that, like on this note, you take the whole golden age of humanity and where they place themselves with AI. Like it really seems like if you take him at his word, that was the apex he wanted. That was the pinnacle of his Roman Empire. Of that humanity doesn't believe in any kind of gods. And if we look at him scrying into the future and him believing that the only way to defeat the chaos gods is to remove belief in them, that's actually a fair combat against the chaos gods. The chaos gods will that's some weird shit to think about. The chaos gods will cease to exist if we don't believe in them.
Yep.
The chaos gods only exist because of perpetual strife and the belief in them. If the whole universe just went peaceful tomorrow,
And
it
we'll
would have a drastic effect.
we'll do an episode on each chaos god. The first one, and we'll probably do them in order because the first one would be Korn.
Yeah, we also want to talk about
Korn would have been birthed around the Dark Ages.
Yeah, Korn would have been the first, and yeah, the Dark Ages. Really, it would have been the strife of when we had some of our most crazy wars.
In order, it's Korn, Zetch, Nurgle, and then Slanesh.
Yeah. Slanesh, yep. It's because Slanesh was birthed during the Golden Age of humanity.
Yeah. And again, like I said earlier, there's a lot of events that cross over because the galaxy's so fucking massive that something's going on over here, and of course there's shit that's going on over there and over there and over there, and
the whole galaxy also feels like one big inherited that humanity just swept up.
Yeah.
When you go look into the war in heaven, and like the battle between the Eldar, the Korks, the fucking Necron, and the Satan. Oh, that's something we didn't mention earlier. The Void Dragon. The Void Dragon is a Satan.
Yeah. I should have mentioned that, and I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
But I also figured that was part of the Necron episode.
Yeah.
But I should have mentioned it at least that it was a Satan and pretty much a god.
Yep. Well, and that's so like somewhere where we could separate Satan. So gods do exist in this.
Fully
but they exist in different manners. You have gods of the ethereal nature, which are the gods of the warp. So when you think of a god that has no tangible being or no tangible physical no tangible physical being to this plane of existence, that is something that exists in the warp. When you think of like a spiritual god, something that can only affect your soul, your spirit, your energy, that is something that the Satan are the opposite. The Satan are physical beings that have evolved. So one of the issues with the Satan is they existed since the Big Bang. The Satan came alongside the Big Bang.
Yep.
In the Warhammer universe, the Big Bang is the start of the universe. I'll just to clarify, the Warhammer universe goes under the pretense the Big Bang happened. During the Big Bang, the Satan were created as raw beings during this time. they feed off of stars for millennia, for hundreds to billions of years, as far as we know. They just ate stars. They would cause the
Some
idea is
Galactus
that
shit.
yeah, the idea is that the death of stars came with the coming of a Satan, and that the death of stars isn't a natural process. The death of stars happen like more so due to the Satan eating them. So they were these like they're unfathomable. We don't know anything about them because anyone who could have studied them or even had an answer on who they were are dead, which are the old ones. Oh, it's crazy. Again, the entire setting. Our imagine it this way. Our entire species history is built on the back of a post-apocalyptic universe-wide event. We only exist because of the individuals involved in this dramatic post-apocalyptic universe-wide event. It's possible in this setting you only have a soul because of advanced civilization before you invented a soul. That's what's crazy about it, is that you can argue shit like that. You can be like, well, fucking the old ones invented reality. They invented soul. Because if souls are so strongly tied to the warp and they invented the warp, they would have also had to invent souls. Well, and another big thing about the old ones is they went throughout the universe, propagated. The old ones saw themselves as shepherds. They thought that with their godlike power, it was a responsibility for them to use that for the greater good of the universe. They went throughout the galaxy and propagated all kinds of life. Like, dude, imagine Mass Effect Reapers if they were good guys. If they didn't just come here to harvest all living beings every 50,000 years, but instead every 50,000 years they came in to just give everybody like bro advice.
Everybody gets they're all here, everybody just gets some shit.
Yeah, dude.
You get some shit and you get some shit. We'll touch on the old ones in another episode.
Good, yeah. Good
because ultimately they're the creators of humanity. The orcs and the Eldar.
Yeah.
So we ultimately have to touch on them eventually. I think we'll tie that all together. Like we'll kind of start with the old ones and then work to Necron and Eldar. That touches all the war in heaven, touch both races.
Yep.
Good lead into all of it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good place to call it for this for the first one.
Agreed.
Again, appreciate everybody hanging out. Appreciate everybody just stopping by. Rafa, much love for the stubbies. Thank you.
Much love to Squeeze.
Much love to everybody. This episode will be posted up tonight. I'll wait till I get my emails about stuff and then I'll post it. I probably will be posting this one on YouTube as well. Next episode, I want to do the Imperium of Man. Like I said, just an overview of the Imperium of Man gives a good scale or a sense of scale. Especially a sense of scale to the Imperium of Man, because our biggest thing in the setting is numbers. So a sense of scale is, to me, a little bit important, especially when you talk about the Imperium. And yeah, we'll get into like how many worlds there are, what type of worlds there are. Hood, I'll show you or send you my notes so far.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can come whenever. other than that, and that'll be next Wednesday, guys, 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, just like always. This about wraps up day 133 in a row. We got day 134 tomorrow. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'll figure it out. I might draw. Kind of feeling art. So that's probably that. Catch me again tomorrow night at what time? Oh wait, 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Let's set up. Raid this guy. Never likes to find him anymore. Like, bro, I raid him like a couple times a week. Hard. Now watch this. I'm gonna do it here in the chat. And it works. What the actual shit? Alright, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I greatly appreciate you all. I wouldn't be able to do this without any of you guys. Thank you. Have a good night. The Emperor protects. What? You're not? Bro.
Really? God fucking damn it.
Dude. You told me you were... Ugh. Any shit I can do about it now. Well, everybody says everybody's still here. Maybe I can.
Yeah, try again. See what happens.
Since he's not live, I'm just gonna raid police.
Always a good way. Well, again, thank you. Thank you.
Always, brother.
Hop out of this. My computer's.
Nope. I think it's done. God damn you, Septic.